Come to Sam Ash for hundreds of exclusive holiday deals on music and sound gear from the most iconic brands. Save big on professional and starter guitars, drums, digital pianos, horns, violins, DJ, and electronic production equipment. Supercharge your home studio with deals on podcasting, streaming, and AV equipment like speakers, microphones, headphones, and acoustic treatment. Plus, with 36 months no-interest financing on thousands of items, you can get the gear of your dreams right now. From our incredible selection and service to our lowest price guarantee for over 95 years, real musicians know you only go to Sam Ash.
Bruce Arians here with your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. During these difficult times, it's important that we all show we care about our community's health. You could spread COVID-19 without knowing it. Wear a mask, wash your hands, keep your distance from each other, stay strong, and go Bucks.
Realizing my potential has been what my career has been all about. Things that I've dreamed about have actually come true.
And the Patriots have won Super Bowl 36. Unbelievable.
Things have happened in my life as I kind of hoped they would happen. It's been, just a complete evolution. How I just kept kind of fighting and clawing to continue to power forward. You just keep putting one foot in front of the other, and you keep trying to make progress. So when I look at over 20 years, I look how far I've come. But there's not one step that I took where I realized, look how far I've come. But those series of steps that I put together, I go, wow, that's quite a journey.
You're now in the Sports Web, a sports talk show for the hardcore fan. Bring your passion, bring your excitement, just don't bring any nonsense. Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another edition of the evolution of Sports Talk Television here live nightly on Bucks Report. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. And as we always start off this show, because we've got a lot to get to tonight, bring your passion, bring your excitement, just don't bring any nonsense. On tonight's show, we will be talking about the latest COVID-19 protocols, some of the stuff that got passed by the NFL today, some affecting you fans and players. Also get to Janoris Jenkins and his comments about the Bucks, and also Rob Gronkowski and what he thinks about this offense going forward. Our guest tonight, or two guests, Alex Fleming, the flamethrower himself of Turf Talk, which can be seen here on Bucks Report on Saturday mornings at 10 o'clock. And of course, Fantasy and Flavors at 9:35. And then we will have TJ Pittenger, the big three roll up, and of course, a part of the Landry Football Network. But there's a lot of things to get to, as you can tell. And of course, I want to get your phone calls from you guys. 727-255-0391 and 727-255-0391. It's the evolution of Sports Talk Television, brought to you by Malectronic.com. They sell speakers, Bluetooth, all kinds of great things there. And all you got to do to get the best deal possible is basically type in Bucks Report. You get a 40% discount. That's Malectronic.com, because it sounds perfect. We'll have that information in the comments if you're interested. But once again, 40% if you type in Bucks Report, and they have Bluetooth speakers, Bluetooth headphones. I mean, I've been looking at it, top quality stuff, because it does sound perfect. So there you go. All right, let's get to it for the day here. Not a lot of great news. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you about it. I'm trying to be as optimistic as I can. There's some things that are happening right now, but the NFL, well, first and foremost, besides going through that, according to Tom Pelissero of NFL Network, the NFL Players Association says 72 players league-wide were known to have tested positive for COVID-19 as of last Friday, according to information made available to players. With roughly 2,800 players currently on rosters, that represents about 2.5% on for the workplace. So again, to put that into context, and we talked about it last night, and I harped on it. What was the reason why I harped on it? Right here, as of Friday, 72 players have tested positive for COVID-19. That's why I was a stickler about Devin White last night. It's not a great optic. You don't know if he's going to get it or not. You don't know if he's going to spread it to players or not. So it's very important at this juncture that everybody does the right things, because we're less than 2 weeks away from training camp, if you're going to even have training camp at this point. Other news to come out today: the NFL will place players who test positive for COVID-19 on the IR for 3 weeks. Players who test positive will be placed on COVID-19 lists for 3 weeks, creating a roster spot that would be filled with a player who is negative for the virus. Of course, the players that are going to be put on the IR with COVID-19 will be paid their normal salaries, and he must return after 3 weeks or he will revert to IR. So that has been versus the Giants, and that's according to ProFootballTalk.com. This also from Tom Pelissero of the NFL Network. The Chiefs are telling players camp is a go with rookies and quarterbacks to report for COVID-19 testing Monday. There is no agreement on outstanding issues between the NFL and NFL Players Association, I'm told, but the team has the right under the new CBA to tell players to report. This from, Mike Garofalo. Physicals and equipment fitting the next 2 days for rookies, quarterbacks, and select vets. Full squad slated to report on 7/25. It's up to the NFL Players Association to file a grievance if clubs are not in compliance with health and safety protocols. Adam Schefter also reports that the Houston Texans are going to try to report on July 20th for COVID testing, and then the onboarding process. We've got the Washington situation, which is completely preposterous and disturbing. 15 female employees, widespread sexual harassment. There's so much stuff to talk about tonight, but getting to all this stuff right now and going back to what I talked about last night with Devin White and Ryan Jensen, why it's so important. And now you can understand the perspective of a Donovan Smith. You look around the league, players really don't know what's going to happen. And it certainly seems like, everybody's kind of, dipping their toe into that pool thinking that everything is okay. But when you see the 72 players test positive for COVID-19, that's not a good thing. Could there be more? You would think. You would hope not. But if Devin White and Ryan Jensen or anything of what we think is going to happen or what players have been doing, there's certainly a possibility that there could be more positive tests. 727-255-0391 and 727-255-0391. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Also, this from Brian Hanline of the NCAA Chief Medical Officer. First and foremost, University of Miami has canceled they suspended their workouts, The Ivy League, the MEAC, and the Patriot League have canceled their seasons. And what he's saying basically right now, any recommendation on a pathway toward a safe return to sport will depend on the national trajectory of COVID-19 spread. The idea of sport re-socialization is predicted on a scenario of reduced or flattened infection rates. That's what college football is saying. Not great news. Also, Mark Emmert of the NCAA, when we made the extremely difficult decision to cancel last spring's championships, it was because there was simply no way to conduct them safely. This document lays out the advice of healthcare professionals, as to how to resume college sports if we can achieve an environment where COVID-19 rates are manageable. Today, sadly, this data points in the wrong direction. Let me read it again for the college football fans out there. Sadly, the data points in the wrong direction. If there is going to be college sports in the fall, we need to get a much better handle on this pandemic. That is from the NCAA president. So, like I said, not a lot of great news today if you're a sports fan concerning COVID-19. It certainly seems like we're going to have an NFL season, but I definitely want to hear your thoughts on these latest developments. Do you think there's going to be more tests? Do you think there's going to be more positive tests out there? What do you think about the Devin White situation? We kind of rambled on about it, but we didn't get a lot of fans out there that were commenting on what they thought about Devin White going out to, I get it, it's a charity function, but still, no mask at that point, no social distancing, all kinds of people all around the place. We had Ryan Jensen with the wing eating contest. What are your thoughts? 727-255-0391 and 727-255-0391. For fans out there wanting to go to training camp, forget it. Fans will not be permitted at training camp this year. NFL spokesman Brian McCarthy. This is a league-wide policy. Clubs may hold up to 2 events for their stadium, within their stadium, provided they adhere to all state and local guidelines. So I'm absolutely sorry to report the news tonight. There's going to be no training camp, no fans at training camp, only 2 events at the stadium. So we'll go out to the comments here from the webheads. We'll read you guys, and then we will go ahead and move on to maybe some more positive news. What's going on? Best Virtual Edits video. Dylan says, hi. Good vibes, Dylan. They dropped the article, but I know that's all. Yep, I agree. Dylan says, the flamethrower 2 nights in a row. Good stuff. Absolutely. Yeah, the flamethrower is great. Just don't bring Rick Hughes. Dude wants me to change my YouTube name. Best Virtual Edits video. MEAC canceled fall sports. Ivy League canceled fall sports. Patriot League canceled fall sports. I mean, if this is why I continue to go back and forth, the players have to do the right thing. You guys have to do the right thing. If you want fall sports, if you want a football season, wear a mask, wash your hands, because we're getting down to the nitty gritty. It's getting down to that point. And I almost feel like either 2 things are going to happen here. 2 things are going to transpire with the NFL season. Number 1, they're going to put it off. Or number 2, there's going to be so many spikes in so many states that they're going to cancel the season. You know why? Because not only the spikes, but the players don't feel healthy enough. They don't feel safe in this environment. That's what it comes down to. All right, let's see here. Tonight, Alex Fleming, TJ Pittenger, and Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy. Peter Sickle, early Peter Sickle. Okay, we froze. We got that out of the way. Good stuff. Definitely drop your questions. Mike says, what if they're too sick to return after 2 weeks? They go back on the IR. It's 3 weeks. It's not even 2 weeks. It's 3 weeks. That's the development. 3 weeks. They're put on the IR. And if they don't come back, they go back on the IR. So, tough. When the flamethrower speaks, you have to listen. They just need a nickname for you. Well, that is his nickname. I'm the GOAT, says Best Virtual Edits video. What's going on, Constance? How you doing? Dylan says they just have to call you GOAT now. And Best Virtual Edits video. Do you agree with the kids going back to school, Peter? No. Hell no, I don't agree with them going back to school. Why would you send kids back to school with COVID going on? With the spikes in Florida? Do you actually think that you can tell adults to wear a mask? You're going to try to tell a kid to wear a mask? You think that social distancing is going to go on in school? You're going to try to regulate that in a classroom with older teachers who could possibly get it themselves? You're going to do that? That's going to work? Really? No. If you have a child, keep them at home. That's the best scenario you can do. Keep those kids at home until this thing calms down. It's not going to calm down because nobody's doing the right thing. We talk about it night after night after night after night on this show. It involves sports. I don't want to come on here and talk about COVID. 72 players already. 2.5 of the workforce. That worries me. That should worry you. No training camp this year. Are you upset about it? I mean, you got no training camp this year, but you got a football season. Are you okay with it? We have 2 fan events if it can be regulated properly at the stadium, which I guess I understand to a certain degree. I mean, we've had nothing but talk the last 2 weeks of how you're going to be able to stop the spread, and yet there's still people saying, go back to school, do this, do that. Don't worry about it. People are not dying. Yeah, people maybe not be dying from it, but they're getting it. They're damaging their body. Can you imagine if kids get it in school? Kids get it in school, spread it to the teacher, teacher gets sick. Kids get it in school, spread it to another kid, kid goes home, spreads it to the family. Other kid spreads it to the family. You see how this works? How does that make any sense at all? Does that make any damn sense at all to go back to school? Just saying. I mean, and you can make the case of why should it be a football season? Well, the reason why there's a football season is because first and foremost, we need entertainment. But at the end of the day, it's about what? The health and the safety of the players, the coaches, the refs, everybody involved, even the fans. I mean, why do you think the NFL is having fans sign a waiver? It's a real situation. Oh, you're being too hard on Devin White last night. Oh, really? Really? Oh, you were being too hard on Ryan Jensen the other night. Really? That's your starting center. What happens if your quarterback gets sick? 3 weeks. Goodbye. Blaine Gabbert? Ryan Griffin? Somebody off the street? That's what you want? Take it seriously. 727-255-0391 and 727-255-0391. Ha ha ha. No love for best online virtual super edits video productions. Or they could just call you MJ. Those are interchangeable. We know that he wouldn't like that. Dylan says they won't even hold board meetings in person because it's not safe. But they want kids to go back. That's what I'm saying. You got a Zoom meeting, okay? I work from home. I do sales. I talk all day long. It's crazy that I could do 3 hours of sports, but you know why? Because you guys actually like to talk to me. You don't hang up on me like the salespeople. We do our meetings from home. We do our Zoom meetings from home. We're not in an office. You know why? Because we can spread it. It's real. All right, let's go back out to the phone lines, or go out to the phone lines. First call of the night. Welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Nick Jackson calling from Phoenix.
Nick, welcome. Welcome, Nickelodeon Jackson, right on Facebook? Thanks a lot for getting on the evolution.
Yes,
what's on your mind, my friend?
What's on my mind is that I absolutely think that you're correct. This whole, virus is getting to be really, serious. I wouldn't want Tom Brady getting the whole virus. I wouldn't want, where the players, if we don't have training camp, we're not going to end up, either the players not going to have the, the playbook, or there's going to be more injuries and stuff.
Sure.
I would want to have training camp.
Well, look, they're going to have training camp. It's just no fans are going to be allowed at training camp. Are you okay, Nick, with not going to training camp if you have a season?
I mean, I'm fine with, not going to training camp. Just have football, have no fans. I mean, half of the time, just let the players play and, have a safe football season,
Yeah. I mean, and that's what it comes down to. I got to ask you, because you're a big time Bucs fan. I've talked to you before. I've seen your posts. You're all diehard Bucs fan. You're excited about the season with Brady and Gronk coming in. But what do you think about TMZ Sports picking up the story about Devin White? I get it. He's doing a charity function, but he's out there. You have bumping and grinding going on. You have music going on. There's no social distancing. There's no wearing a mask. I mean, do you like that? Do you like to see Ryan Jensen in a wing eating contest? I mean, what do you think of some of these players doing what they're doing right now? I mean, you're looking down on it. What are you thinking?
He's gonna have to come to a realization just to say you're gonna have to stop what you're doing, stay safe, and prepare for the the season and get ready for a training camp, because we got war coming in. And week 1, I really would like to beat the Saints.
Well, you definitely like to beat the Saints. You got to get off to a good start because you got Drew Brees, and that's your biggest competition. And of course, as we always have figured out here with the divisional game, it always counts for 2. And that's your biggest rival. That right there, that first game, you got to be ready for it. You can't have any COVID cases. You can't have any injuries. You have to be buttoned up and ready and on point, because the Saints are going to be the same way. They're going to be on point. They're the division winner. They're one of the top teams in the NFC and all the NFL, and they have a guy like Drew Brees who wants to do more than anything, not only beat Tom Brady and the Bucs, but also finish out his career with the Super Bowl. And you take that next step to win that Super Bowl on that first game versus the Bucs. What else, Nick?
Exactly. I completely agree. My first prediction, I really do have Ravens and the Buccaneers in the Super Bowl. A lot of people have either Kansas City and the Bucs in the Super Bowl, but I do have the Bucs and the Ravens in the Super Bowl.
Why do you have the Ravens in the Super Bowl? You think they're going to get over the Kansas City Chiefs this year? Why the Ravens over the Kansas City Chiefs?
I just think that the Kansas City Chiefs don't have no defense. I really don't think they didn't have any defense. Yeah, I know they won the Super Bowl. You can continue to go on about that, but I just don't think they have defense at all. I really don't think they're going to get there again. I really think it'll be like the Ravens this time, and it'll be us Bucs, because we're starting to get some love off NFL Total Access about we've been talked about, and I'm starting to see that. I just seen they're talking about us today, and I really think that we go over that hump. I really think so.
Yeah, you think so? Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, I tell you right now, they definitely got the opportunity. They got all the weapons. It's just a weird season, Nick. You just don't know if this season's going to start on time. You don't know how COVID-19 is going to affect, but you look on paper, as we'll get to those comments from the one Janoris Jenkins, which, by the way, Janoris Jenkins, weren't you the guy that was getting burned last year like toast by Mike Evans in that Giants game? I thought you were. We'll get to those comments in a moment. Anything else, Nick?
I really pray that we have a season. A lot of these athletes, like basketball players and football players, some may have it, and some of the coaches may have it, and some of the assistant coaches may have it and stuff. I look at it like, well, yeah, you're hurting your body, but you're not dead. But I'm pretty sure they're going to end up getting healthy. We're going to have a full season. We're going to have training camp. It's just a matter of staying safe, being healthy, doing what's right.
Would you sign a waiver? Would you sign a waiver to go to a football game?
For my Bucs?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. You think it starts on time in September, or do you think they push it back until October? Because I kind of think they push it back until October.
No matter rain or snow, we still have a season. If they push it back, no weather else.
Okay.
Start on time. Just get football here.
All right. Good stuff. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for calling the Sports Web. Definitely tell your friends and use that second phone call. All right.
All right.
Good stuff, boss. There you go. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. We got the flamethrower himself, Mr. Alex Fleming, coming up here about 9:35. Like I said, I don't want to get up on my soapbox because I'm still relatively young and I want to go out and I want to do things. And I get it when you're a football player and you're young and the world is your oyster, if you will. You want to do everything you can. But at this point, you have to set a priority. Do you want to be a Tampa Bay Buccaneer player? Do you want to be an NFL player? Or do you want to party like a rock star? And partying like a rock star right now is completely dangerous. 727-255-0391. Let's go back out to the webheads here, read some of these comments, and then we will get Mr. Alex Swimming on, or we will just go out to the phone lines. Let's go out to the phone lines. Welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Deshaun Tisdale calling from Gwinnett County, Georgia. How you
Hey,
doing,
buddy.
Pete?
I've talked to you before. Welcome to the Sports Web. What's on your mind, boss?
Hey, I just wanted to call in and just weigh in on the fact that these guys are going out. I think I'm like you, Pete. I work from home anyway, so it's not I'm able to catch all the great shows that are running on Bucks Report at different times of the day.
Thank you.
Twitter, Facebook, thing like that.
Appreciate it.
And that's great, but I do realize that we're talking about Devin White, Jensen. These guys they're not 9-to-5ers like most of us that are listening. That we don't live in the same reality that's their reality now. Everybody's getting sick, and I realize that.
Mm-hmm.
But those guys may not be being touched by that at this extent, or just what they feel like they can overcome, they're overcoming. I mean, we can look at it two ways. I think
I'll tell you how I look at it. It's like a certain case of, look, you're a celebrity. We all talk about going on social media, going into a bar, and basically putting a target on your back. And I'm going to compare it, but not the same situation. Because when you go into a bar at 2 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning, all too well, when you're out 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, nothing's good is going to happen. Nothing good's going to happen. So when you're a player and you have that status and that social media following and everybody looking to you, and look, Devin White could be an upcoming superstar for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defensively. Ryan Jensen, the center. I'm not saying you can't live your life, because I get it. We've all been stuck in our houses, at least some of us. We've all been doing the social distancing and staying away from our families and everything like that. But at the end of the day, I guess my question is to anybody out there that's kind of saying, well, we don't live in the same reality. We kind of do. And the pandemic has kind of taken us to that reality and made us think, look, it doesn't matter what you are, what your political affiliation is, whether you're white, black, Chinese, Spanish, whatever you are, you have the opportunity to get this virus, and it does not, it doesn't discriminate. Okay, so whether you're rich or poor,
I agree with you, Pete.
Right?
I will listen. I agree with you 100%.
Okay,
but then I'm trying to look at it from the other side of the coin.
Okay,
Yes, he's out there working out, but I live here in Georgia, and there's tons of athletes, whether they're from the Falcons or from other teams. There have been Buccaneers that have been working out right at facilities that I take my son to work out at here in Gwinnett County, Georgia. And listen, I will tell you this: there's not much difference from this. Yes, we know it, and it's on TMZ, and we see it as a party or some type of event.
Sure.
But listen, there were tons of kids just came from Georgia, went down to Florida, FBU camp, 7-on-7 things competing. Some of them came back to a high school here a couple before their players got COVID that were down there.
Right.
But that high school is going to keep on moving without those 4 players. Now, Brady, everybody's been working out. We've been getting a lot of talk on ESPN. Hey, Brady's working out. But guess what? Those guys are all communicating and congregating with each other, and they have their wives. They're not segregating or separating from their wives as they're doing these free voluntary workouts with Brady to get better.
Right.
But they're all still being affected. Listen, a lot of those guys have multiple kids at home, young kids. They may have babies, babysitters, different things, aides that help around their homes when they're not there. And you cannot for those guys, it's either I'm thinking that I want to see football. Make no mistake about it. This is like the season for us, but it's so very Buccaneerish for us to possibly not have it.
You have
everything.
Deshaun, you have everything on the line. You put all your chips in the table. You got the greatest quarterback of all time. You got Gronkowski. You did a great job in the draft. You signed everybody defensively. Everybody is touting you, and I almost feel like it's like, just another day. And I get what you're saying about Devin White and Ryan Jensen, and I'm hoping there's players out there that are doing the necessary things. And I almost feel like, and maybe you can comment on this, do you feel like Bruce Arians is communicating with these guys and saying, look, we need to all do what we need to do so we can get through the season, because we have a great opportunity to do something that no other team has been able to do in NFL history. That is to get to the Super Bowl in our own house. Whether it's empty or not, you still get into the Super Bowl, okay? And you possibly could win it with the talent they have. Name a season. Even 2002, there were questions, but name a season where you felt like, man, the Bucs really have a legitimate shot to not only get to the playoffs, but take it to the next level and win a Super Bowl with the talent they have. And that's what I'm saying. What's the priority at this point? Is Devin White wanting to be the upcoming player, a second-year player that can really break out in this defense? I get it. He's 22 years old, and you got to do your thing because you only have one life to live. But right now, we're living in some different times. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, look, I agree with you. We're hands down. This is the charge that we have right now, as far as just having the climate that I feel that, as fans, we feel it. And we've never had this collection. We knew it in 2002 that we had a nice collection in that front, and we had pieces that could maybe do it. But we had a lot of opposition in front of us, and we needed to gel, and we needed things to happen, of which they did. But right now, we have hands down some of the best stellar players across the board.
Yeah.
And even the young players that are not necessarily touted by mainstream media, but we watch our games. We've seen our players play better. We've seen our players compete against the Julio Jones and all the receivers, the Carolina receivers, the Saints receivers against Breeze in that secondary. We've seen our guys compete against them, and we know where they match up, and we know that they're young and they can only get better. Now, with all that being said, Bruce Arians' reach is his reach. These guys are not in camp yet. Everything's pretty much voluntary, and they should be, if I'm not mistaken, everyone should be in Florida right now, regardless of wherever they came from.
Right.
14-day quarantining and quarantining, not like so now I guess we'd have to reset Jensen, reset all those guys. But you know what? I think that the coaching staff is going to probably just do what they do. I saw something come out today saying 72 players in the NFL
72
have already tested positive.
And we haven't even gotten everybody in camp yet. Can you imagine if you
haven't even gotten everybody in?
Right.
So those are guys that just came into the building. They may be there early for different builds. We don't even know.
You know what this is like, Deshaun?
This
is like seeing a funnel cloud, and I've seen it before, and just knowing what's going to happen if that thing touches down, how ominous it looks. With that story today, it makes the NFL season seem very ominous. And I'm not trying to be pessimistic, but I have to be realistic about this story right here. You've got to get it under control. And if you don't, either two things are going to happen. You're going to either have to delay the season, or you're going to have no NFL season. And I can't fathom that. I cannot imagine that the NFL owners and players would walk away from this much money. But then at the end of the day, it comes back to what? Donovan Smith and what he was saying. Does he feel safe? He doesn't feel safe because he has his first kid.
Well, listen, I'll say this, and I'm gonna get off and listen and see what everybody else has to say to chime in.
Yeah.
Two things. First thing is, I live here in Georgia. Another county in Cobb County just said they're going to have no sports. They're only going to have digital learning, stay home with the kids.
Sure.
My kids still having football. I don't know when they're going to cancel it, but based on what I see, and like you, I'm thinking, okay, colleges are canceling. Why would high schools be playing if colleges are canceling?
Right, exactly. Why would you be putting out there kids to go back to school? Right,
yes,
exactly.
If you're not willing, if you're not willing to go to school,
right,
then that tells me. And now I go back to what you said earlier when you're on the last call. Listen, I'm still not meeting with anyone in my organization. I'm not meeting with anyone that we're all having Zoom calls. We're all having monthly and weekly meetings. So that says to me, if we're not willing to communicate with each other face to face, but I'm going to put some kids or some young men or some grown adult men with families and other responsibilities, that changes from a Devin White to a Matt Ryan to a Drew Brees to a Tom Brady that is the elder statesman when it comes to quarterbacks.
Right.
That, hey, guess what? He's in great shape, but he's still 43.
Yep. That's a good point. That's absolutely a good point. And
Come
then on
which
top
is what
of
we're
it,
talking about.
right? Yeah, Bruce Arians, who's up there in age, who's fought cancer,
And he had medical issues.
right?
He has a condition.
Exactly.
He has that. And I
Exactly.
don't know how many other coaches. We just know about BA.
Right.
We don't know how many other coaches may have some preconditions that they're working with.
Yep.
And that is going to be. I think BA is one of the ones that we're going to see. He told us himself. If you remember, beginning of season last season,
Yep.
he told us himself. They asked him how did he do? What about the physical? He said himself he passed with a C.
Exactly. And he also said
was
that
his word.
he would die on the field to do what he loves. So that guy's not going to be off the field anytime soon. And I go back to those
I don't think
comments.
he's leaving the field, and I think his wife knows that he's
Right.
not leaving the field, but that doesn't mean that he won't get sick.
Right.
And in turn be getting other people sick because he refuses to leave. He's going to do what he loves until he dies,
Yep.
which he's already said.
Yep.
That doesn't mean everyone else is. Players are different in the NFL now. They're no longer the same players. They don't play until they can't play anymore. These younger players, they leave when they've had enough, or they leave when they've made enough. They're just, as many of these players they've been just retiring. You'll say Marshawn Lynch. I'm surprised you retired. The other running back that was in Dallas, I can't think of his name, but just leave. Was it Andre Johnson? I think I can't think of his, but just leave. These players are different now.
Robert
So
Smith
to
was
think
one of those
that they would
guys that
just-
left. Yeah.
Yeah,
Early in
to
his
think
career.
that they would just stay out here and get injured. They're not the same players that no one does what Harrison from the Steelers is doing, and no one does that anymore. Not the
Nope.
new players.
Nope.
So we need to win now. We built this team now. This is a 2 to 3 year team before that secondary needs to get paid. We have the best opportunity to win the Super Bowl now, Peter, and I'd love to see us win. I'm going to get off and listen to the rest of the Buccaneer fans. Go Bucks.
All right, man. Thanks a lot, Deshaun. Definitely use that second call. And thanks a lot for calling the evolution of Sports Talk Television. All right, boss?
No problem. Thank you.
All right, buddy. Good stuff. I love it. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. What? You thought that I needed guests to talk to here? No. I know what I'm doing here. Is this a radio show? It's a TV show. It's both. It's the evolution of Sports Talk Television. Let's go ahead, go back out to the webheads here and see what you guys have to say here. They won't even hold board meetings in person. It's not safe. They want the kids to go back. I have to read that text again. What a joke. Peter is preaching. Sorry, I'm late. It's okay, Stunton. Is Hard Knocks canceled? Great question. Who knows at this juncture? I don't think anybody will notice since there's 7 Charger fans. Hey, guys, what's going on? Joshua Allen, who was on Thursday Night Live with Charles Richardson. Great job from him and Charles. I have online classes. Hope that won't change. Nope, I'm not. If we can't have training, but we have football, I'm not all for that. We have more injuries or just lack of players and new players not knowing the playbook. That's the key thing. You got to get the playbook down, and that would be, Tom Brady. Doctor at Oxford says her team may have a vaccine that may be ready in October to start mass producing, but it's going to take some time. You know, people say, well, vaccination is going to come in October. Okay, well, then start pumping people with a vaccination that's not tested. See how that works out. Yeah, not me. No. Dylan, the problem with the vaccines is that people won't take it. People won't take the vaccine. Not taking it, you got to test it on people. Take the vaccine. Yeah, this is bad. Real bad. It's a lifesaver. Is it? Who knows? Have you tested it enough on enough people? I don't know. You're right, but it's good news regardless. It's a step in the right direction. Exactly. It's good, but some people won't take it. Most will, some won't. Stunting is stunting. I don't think the Bucs will make the Super Bowl. Come on, guys, be realistic here. I really do think we will make the Super Bowl if we can stay healthy, but the question looms larger than ever this year. Hell yeah, get football here. I'm not saying it. Dyslexic. All right, there you go. You skipped it. I didn't. I just said it. Why'd you skip it? Come on. Let's see. Ben Cornett. All right, let's go out. I think this is Ben Cornett, and then we'll get to Alex Fleming. Alex, we're running a little bit late. We got calls tonight. Ben Cornett, welcome to the Evolution.
Hey, it's Craig.
Oh, I'm sorry. My bad. I thought this was Ben. Craig, thanks a lot for calling the Evolution. What's on your mind?
Hey, let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Why we're not having football?
Sure. You
Okay,
don't think we're going to have football this year?
I don't know if we're going to have it. I really don't. I think it's a coin toss. If you saw what J.J. Watt tweeted out just a couple hours ago, too.
Not good.
Yeah, not good.
Yeah.
But let's break down the real what happened.
Mm-hmm.
We tried to turn science into politics,
Agree.
and you can debate me till you're blue in the face, anybody. But there were simple ways to defeat this virus,
Mm-hmm.
and too many of these governors that are on one side of the aisle could not upset the leader in the White House. And I mean, just look at what happened yesterday in Georgia. President lands there, and suddenly the mask mandates are overturned in cities. They're just suggested. They're not that. If you want to get back to some normalcy, put on a mask, social distance. That's all you had to do for the last 90 days. And now we're at the point where we're not going to all be at the stadium. I have season tickets here for the Raiders. For the only game I was going to go to was for the Bucs game. So I was all in too. I did my part. A lot of people did, but not enough did. But it's the government that failed us. Also, I think I read an article the other day too. The town of Tuscaloosa, Alabama, if they don't have Alabama football, will lose $1 billion.
It's amazing. It's amazing how much money college football is going to lose, and people don't even think about it. And I mean, SEC football is the brand on Saturday afternoons on CBS. Can you imagine if CBS doesn't have SEC football? Can you imagine if college football? And I really think, Craig, that college football is not going to play this year. There's no way. Look, if there's doubts about the NFL, there's even more doubts about college football because of not only having kids there, but students there, and also administrators and coaches. It's just, and those kids are not even getting paid for it. So there's just no way I see college football happening this year. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And so instead of doing these simple things like other countries did, I mean, I watched rugby last week out of New Zealand. They had a full crowd.
Yeah.
You know what? They crushed the virus there. But we're too back and forth and political, and you're overseeing. Listen, we're trying to get through a pandemic, a 100-year thing. Just put a mask on. You had to just social distance, follow the guidelines for opening these states up.
Yeah.
And the governor of Florida and so many other states didn't follow this.
Yep.
And look at the situation is. And let's also do the mask is a sign of respect. It's saying to my parents, they love to travel. They travel to Bucs games. They go all over the world. They can't do it right now because my dad has underlying health conditions.
Yeah.
And he can't travel like they used to because he can't afford to get sick. So you're taking the golden years from our parents that busted their butt at work, did everything they had to do so they could retire and live comfortable. They can't. Our grandparents can't leave their places because they can't afford to get sick too. All you had to do was follow these simple guidelines like so many other countries did and did it. And the governor's talking about reopening your economy. Football is part of your economy.
Thank you.
Especially about in the Southeast.
Yes.
How many jobs are created on Sundays, on Saturdays, on Fridays? There's so many jobs that are around football, the cameramen. There's so many people that think about it. There's so many people that go into production to put on these football games, whether it's a USF game or a Bucs game on a Sunday. There's a lot of business that goes around this stuff. And the governor should have said, listen, football is so big in our state. It's such a moneymaker. We have to protect that too. And they didn't do it. So too much of our government failed us, and they're going to cost us football, unfortunately. And if you talk about college kids too, if I'm a college kid like Trevor Lawrence or the quarterback Ohio State Field,
yep,
I'm not going to play. I'm guaranteed first-round money next year. I'm probably not going to play because here's the other thing of it. No, there's more studies coming out about the long-term issues that are having with their people's lung capacity. They're having strokes, irregular heartbeats. Let's say I had COVID, I was asymptomatic, or maybe I had a light sniffles. I'm already in the NFL. I'm good. I've already passed my physical. I'm in. I go to Indianapolis and go to my combine next year, and they see that I have an irregular heartbeat because of this. I have reduced lung capacity. I can't pass the shuttle times and all that stuff too. What is next? Are those colleges now responsible for the lost income of those students as well too? There are so many things that Pandora's box is wide open right now that didn't have to be because our government and our politics failed us instead of just going down the road of science. There's everybody has a different agenda on how to defeat this instead of having one set thing, which we know would work. other countries did, and we didn't do it.
No, we didn't do it. And then you're exactly right about a Lawrence and a Fields. There's no incentive for them to go back and play college football because already they know that there's a team out there that's willing to draft them first round, and you would not go and try to take that risk and ruin your draft status on that. Anything else, Craig?
No, I'm frustrated.
I am too.
Yeah,
I mean, I see Devin White and you see Ryan Jensen, and look, your offensive linemen can get it more because obese people and offensive linemen are not in the greatest shape. I'm not saying Jensen's not, but offensive linemen are fat guys. They can get COVID worse than anybody else. So I don't know what we're talking about here. I always go back to this. What's the priority, Craig? Is the priority to be an NFL football player, or is the priority to party like a rock star? If it's party like a rock star, go for it. But then not only are you putting yourself at risk, but you're putting your teammates at risk. And then with that risk comes the non-reward, which means possibly it could cost the Bucs and other teams an opportunity to not only make the playoffs, but possibly win a Super Bowl. Good stuff, Craig. Thanks a lot for calling the Evolution of Sports Talk Television, and definitely use that second call. All right, boss?
All right, man. You got it, man. Take care.
All right. Good stuff there. So I didn't know who he was. He's called sports talk shows before. Want to read the rest of these comments? I'll get to Alex. I do apologize here. Do I have the right? Any NFL player that tests positive during the season has to go on the IR for 3 weeks. Correct. Best virtual edits video. What's up, Joshua? We the Bucks who made it. That song. Imagine having 7 online classes. Couldn't be mad. I wish you the greatest. Stunting is stunting virtual. You have a school. Best virtual edits video. No school for me. The caller's still on the phone line. Ben Cornett, the NFL could keep Arians from being on the sidelines depending on what the protocols will be this year. Best virtual edits video talk for 20 minutes. Wow. I mean, we have a lot of people want to say something tonight. Rob Morgan, the positive here is Arians has complete faith in Leftwich and often let him call the plays last season. If the unfortunate were to happen where he had to miss time, there is at least some continuity. It's a good point, Rob. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Rick Hughes, they're testing it on 30,000 people right now. Amazing. Peter, can you dab? No. Rob Morgan, I'd rather have Brady calling plays than Lefty. Rob, I think it's going to be a collaborative effort this year. Best virtual edits video. If they're canceling college football, how the hell do you think there will be high school football this year? Just got me right here, Peter, where I'm going wrong. There's no way they allow high school football, fall sports. I don't see it. Best virtual edits video. They're hurting our youth and kids. Stay sad to say, but cancel looming. Dylan, the vaccination is in stage 3 of clinical trials, showing promising results, but I agree I won't be first in line. Well, look here, I don't care about the NHL, WNBA, but NBA and Major League Baseball coming real soon. You guys need to tune in. Hopefully, what are your guys' favorite NBA team going into restart? Peter, you're not allowed to say the Lakers. Stunting is stunning. Texas governor won't shut down. Can I move to Canada? I don't think you can. I guess you can. Craig, I'm frustrated too. Best virtual edits video. I've seen the Texans and the Chiefs may be going to camp. We need football. Ed Orgeron. I can't do his voice, but go ahead if you can and call in. Yeah, it's full send for rookies. Rob, could you imagine if COVID hit the offensive meeting room and you have 3 linemen out for 3 weeks? Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. Dylan, for them as of now, stunting is stunning. The city of Tampa has the best sports teams. That's a fact. We all right. Stamkos, Kucherov, Lightning is stacked if Stamkos can get healthy. Bucks is stacked. Dylan, I'm a Pacers fan, so I would say Pacers, but they always seem to prove me wrong. And stunting is stunning. I want to go to Canada, but thanks a lot for tuning in to the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. Let's go out to Mr. Alex Fleming. Welcome to the Evolution of Sports Talk Television, my friend. A busy night and a lot of not great news today coming from the NFL. 72 positive tests for COVID, 2,800 players on a roster. That's 2.5 of the workforce. What do you make of this?
I make it. It's not a good day in the NFL.
I can't hear you.
Now, look, the 72 players testing positive is the least of my worries. That's back burner. That's another day in Vietnam when things were bad. All right, that's the bottom of the barrel. Look, Pete, can I be honest with you, bro? You've been on the air for almost 50 minutes, and it's been negative. I don't want to be negative. Bro, look.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to be. as realistic as possible.
Let's be honest. There's a reason why the NFL has paid athletes. There's a reason why Oakley made a face guard so that way it's harder to condense sweat and to contract the virus. There's a reason why some idiot made no transferring of jersey rule. There's a reason why we don't have voluntary workouts or OTAs, and we probably won't have a preseason. Bro, look at everything around us. We can't control idiots. We can't make them wear face masks because obviously you got conspiracy theorists who's like, oh, it can't affect me. What happened to that Rose guy who by the way, was a bigot? But that's neither here nor there. But the Rose guy, I'm not going to listen to this hype. COVID-19 is fake. April, May, I'm not going to watch cable TV anymore because all they're doing is talking about COVID. July, damn, I'm starting to feel sick. July 2nd, well, I've been positive for COVID. July 4th, obituary. If you want to be stupid, be stupid. Take this as a hoax, if you will. I won't be the first person to say it. If they want to be dumb, let them be dumb. It's called evolution. With that being said, the players have been nice and quiet, except for Dunbar and Baker. They've been separated. They've been working out. And we've been complaining and bickering about them being seen on helicopter throwing passes to each other. Pete, stop with the negativity. My Lord. One more thing to help you with this negative Nancy epidemic. Okay?
Yeah.
30,000 people already in trials are being tested and will be tested. There should be a vaccine in preparation for October. Now, let me be completely honest with you. We're the regular people. They're the beautiful people. Who do you think's going to get it first? Hopefully, common sense answers that question for people. We're going to have football. Say it with me slowly. We are going to have football.
I hope so. I hope so, buddy. But what I have a problem with is Devin White, Ryan Jensen, and guys that are – look, I don't have any problem with guys working out because they're doing the right things here with the social protocols. They're social distancing. They're getting ready for the season. But when you see guys out partying, having chicken wing eating contests, you have players out there like J.J. Watt, Donovan Smith saying they don't know about the health of the situation. You may have a lot of players opt out simply because people didn't want to wear a mask. That's where I'm at. And I'm not trying to be negative about it, but it is what it is. All right, I'll tell you what. Let's move on here. Let's talk about the 15 female employees, widespread sexual harassment involving the Washington franchise. What a complete disturbing story. In fact, this is what they had to say from the Washington Post. They cried out about the realization their dream job of working in the NFL came with what they characterized as a relentless sexual harassment and verbal abuse that was ignored in some cases, condoned by top team executives. Check this out, Alex. Larry Michael, the radio announcer, inappropriate remarks to interns and other people that are associated, people covering the team, females covering this team. Alex Santos, who was just fired, should have been canned. Pro personnel.
You're stealing my material.
Accused of sexual harassment by 6 former team employees and 2 reporters who covered the team. Once said to Rihanna Walker of The Athletic, telling her she wore the F out of a pair of jeans and asking if she would date him if he wasn't married, pinching her on the hip. Alex. Nora Prakani of The Ringer. She has a great little ass for a white girl. The other one here, Richard Mann II, also canned. Pro personnel, sexual harassment. And it goes on. And my thought process is it starts with the leader. Daniel Snyder should be out. And it's not even a discussion at this point. If he is not taken away or has to sell this team, the NFL is wrong. Your thoughts?
Allow me to come in, allegedly, because we do have some very moist Washington Redskin fans who like to watch the program from time to time. Hi, how you doing? They love to hate me. Allegedly, Snyder and the former coach Jay Gruden, John Gruden's brother, held their cheerleaders' passports in a foreign country in order to force them to solicit themselves to season ticket holders and pose nude.
Yep.
Bro, Jay Gruden is garbage. Him and Capri Bibbs at one time were sleeping with the same chick. Gruden found out and benched Bibbs on purpose. Now, this is where karma comes back to bite you. Bibbs was benched on purpose even though he was healthy. It was a healthy scratch. That following game, Alex Smith gets his leg broke because the running back missed an assignment.
Yep.
Alex Smith has had 17 surgeries, and all that could have been avoided if people weren't trying to share the same hallway. Bro, drugs, alcohol, prostitution. Some of the people on this list are 16 years of age.
Yep.
And the bombshell of it all, Snyder might, don't quote me, do not quote me, might have been on the Epstein list.
It would definitely make sense. And we're on with Alex Fleming, the flamethrower himself here of Fantasy Flavors Turf Talk on Saturday morning at 10 o'clock live here on Bucks Report. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Again, the situation, it all stems from leadership. You don't have the leadership. You have guys with sophomoric atmosphere that they have going on. You have coaches texting, player personnel guys texting women that cover the team, interns. I mean, half their age. You have a radio announcer taking advantage of power. The owner needs to be gone. He needs to be gone.
Alex Santos and Richard Mann were both fired because of discovery of these instances.
Correct.
That's real talk. Jay Gruden, Larry Hess, the former trainer, and Eric Schaefer, the former senior vice president of the football operations, were all fired in January. That was just to sweep it under the rug. Now, you hired Ron Rivera to fix the team on the field.
Disaster.
Off the field, you got minority owners trying to sell away their stakes and shares. You got the FedEx CEO, who's black, by the way, who doesn't want anything to do not only with the name, but probably found out that he was having drugs and partying and living his best life with his damn head coach. Oh, and let's not talk about the ignorant and bigoted fan base. I mean, we could talk for hours with that. I was cussed out in the chat room and called something that someone would never say to me in my face. People are trying to protect George Preston Marshall like he was a good guy. I've seen swastikas on the Washington Redskins fan base. You got people just trying to pick fights, whether you're a journalist or not. This is things like that gets Woj in trouble. There's infighting within the fans. You've got tyranny from the top all the way down to the damn staff just acting badly and entitled. Bro, Snyder needs to go.
Do you think that Goodell and the owners will come together, such as like a Jerry Jones, who's very powerful in the league, and a Robert Kraft, even though he has his own discretions off the field? They'll come together and basically go to Goodell and say, look, this is bad for the league. We're all about PR. We're all about money. But Snyder in this whole situation is a black eye for the NFL.
Look, I'm not saying Robert Kraft is a saint, but compared to the things that's going on in Washington, you could call him George Michael. Yeah, he's got some skeletons in the closet, but everybody likes to get down. This one, the owner and the coach should not be partying and sharing women. Two, they should at least be legal if you are going to party and share women. Three, you're the owner. You probably shouldn't be partying to where anybody else can see. Four, you shouldn't have your staff harass reporters, cheerleaders, hold their visas, and make them pose nude. Five, if you have a very negative fascist fan base, wouldn't it behoove you to A, fix that problem first so people feel welcome at your stadium, B, do something about the background history of George Preston Marshall and Cook, because I remember when Cook was talking to McDonald's saying, hey, could you tone down the hypocrisy and some of the stereotyping? C, you've had 2 winning seasons the whole time you've owned the Washington Redskins. You're 135, 185, and 1. All right, you're 50 games below 500. You're 2-5 in the playoffs. All right? So you're not having a good product on the field. Plus, there was also a report that he was paying off refs up to $2 million to help with calls, and the team still sucked.
Wow.
Bro, Snyder got to go.
Yeah, Snyder's definitely gone, I think. Let's go out to these comments from Janoris Jenkins to the NFL Network. He was talking about the Bucs, and he said, we only worry about the New Orleans Saints, Jenkins. We're not worried about nobody right now. We're going to take it one game at a time, one play at a time, and just get better and compete every week. We understand you mentioned that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers got some new weapons, new quarterback. It's paper. You got to produce on the field. We are just worried about the New Orleans Saints. So shots fired. I get it. He's not worried about it. He's saying it's on paper. But if you look at that paper, those weapons on paper are going to be pretty difficult to defend. Especially, by the way, Janoris Jenkins, are you the same defensive back that was trying to defend Mike Evans when Mike Evans went for over 180 yards and 3 touchdowns? I thought you were, so probably should be quiet.
No, he shouldn't be quiet because he's absolutely 1,000% right.
Okay.
Bro, we do the sports web. We cover Tampa.
Yeah.
Tampa's our team. Have you been in the NFC South Invasion chat room? Have you been in the NFC South fans? Have you been on Twitter? Have you been on Instagram?
I don't
go
to that room.
Go outside of Tampa. Nobody is afraid of us. They're laughing at the fact that we gave away a 26-year-old quarterback for a 43-year-old quarterback.
Right. He turned
the ball to Moses.
He turned the ball over 30 times. You got a quarterback.
Number 2, I'm telling you what other people are saying. You can get mad all you want, Blake. I'm telling you the truth of what people are saying outside of Tampa. Okay? That's the truth.
Then they're not watching football then. They're not watching football if they think this team is just a paper champion team. They're not.
Number two, Tom Brady is no longer in AFC East.
Alex,
okay? You need to understand that.
Alex, hold that thought. Let's go out to the phone lines. Rick from Atlanta, welcome to the Evolution.
Man, I don't have any problem with what Janoris Jenkins said. Respect is earned. We haven't earned anything. You don't get respect because you signed some guys.
I get that, but here's a guy who's got burned on several occasions, especially last year versus Mike Evans. And he's saying, well, it's just on paper. You have the greatest quarterback of all time. You have all these weapons. Look, I wouldn't expect him to say anything else, but it just seems like he's kind of being disrespectful. I could care less about all those stupid chat groups and what people think about giving up on Jameis Winston. We all know that Tom Brady came here for a reason, that was to win a Super Bowl. We also know that if he cuts down on those turnovers and that defense plays the way they did in the second half, this team is lethal with all the weapons. And we also could know that this could be they could have the most weapons in Tom Brady's career. That's saying something. He could have more weapons than he's ever had in his career. And this guy who got burned by Mike Evans for 180 yards, a single wide receiver who he couldn't defend last year, wants to come out and try to spill some tea? Come on, get out of here. Go ahead.
No, I hear you, but remember everybody talking about how great Cleveland was going to be because on paper, I mean, they had all these
totally
players.
different. Baker Mayfield and Tom Brady. Apples to oranges.
It's not until you earn it. You got to do it on the field.
Okay.
I agree that when he says it's just on paper, that's all it is.
Okay.
We haven't done anything on the field yet. Now,
we haven't done a damn thing on the field yet.
Jenkins hasn't done a damn thing on the field either. I mean, he couldn't defend Mike Evans last year.
I respect him.
So, I mean, he's the last person that should be talking. That's my point.
No, I agree with you there. He's not the guy who should be saying it.
Right.
But just keep in balance right now. We haven't won anything. We haven't. I mean, seriously, at this point, we haven't won anything. Now,
I agree.
Once the wins happen, he'll shut up.
Well, he'll shut up because this will be bulletin board. This will be bulletin board material for these wide receivers. Yeah,
I'm hoping.
Yeah, I mean,
let everybody keep talking, man. Let them all keep talking.
I mean, again, and I go back to the chat groups. I don't care what they're saying. They didn't watch football last year because if they think this team was a 7-win team, and some of that was, yes, the field goal kicker missing kicks, but also some of that was the turnover situation. And if you can cut down on those turnovers, which, by the way, how many turnovers do we think Tom Brady is going to have, boys? How many turnovers?
13, 14.
13-14. You cut down on those turnovers. You play a better game. Your defense grows. They're only going to get better. I feel like this team can definitely compete for the division crown on the NFC South.
I absolutely agree that the team can compete for the division crown. I absolutely think we can.
Right.
I think that this team can. I don't know that they can. I think they can. They've shown every reason. But I mean, you've got an exciting team. It's great to be a fan right now, and to you've got a lot to be excited about.
Sure.
But right now, we haven't earned anything.
Well, I think this is the wrong thing. I think this right. Well, I think it's the wrong thing to say for him, and I'm hoping that Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and everybody on this team has gotten wind of this. That they're just paper.
Right now, New York Giants, Cleveland Browns, and New York Jets. They shouldn't be trash talking anything to anybody about anything.
Right.
And that's just a fact. But, But you know what? When you look at it, you say, okay, we were 7-9 last year, but our kicker missed this and our kicker missed that. Listen, he's part of the team. And if he's
Rick, let me break it down like this. How many times have we beat New Orleans in the last 3 years? Number 2, who keeps winning the damn division? Exactly. Okay. Not us. Who's won the damn division the last 3 years? New Orleans. Now, Janoris Jenkins got burnt from Mike Evans, 180 yards and 3 touchdowns when he was on New York.
Okay.
He just happened to join New Orleans, the team that continues to whoop our ass and has a cornerback that shuts down Mike Evans.
Okay.
So if you were ever having the time to be emboldened, it would probably be now, Pete.
Well, I'll tell you right now, let me answer that. The one corner that shuts down Mike Evans, that other corner has to worry about Chris Godwin, and that defensive secondary has to worry about Gronkowski, Howard, and Braid. So before you count your chickens before they're hatched, just remember that defense has to definitely try to defend tight ends. And by the way, they don't do a good job of that. Ask Kyle Rudolph. He called and said what the hell you were talking about, Alex. Go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, I just think, you got to keep in mind, he got burned. The team was so bad, blah, blah, blah. They still won last year against the Buccaneers. And if they won last year against the Buccaneers in New York, what's he have to be worried about right now?
Well, they won against New York because the defense was terrible and they couldn't get off the field and they allowed a rookie quarterback, which, by the way, my good buddy here, Alex, said he was going to throw for over 300 yards. But if you make the field goal, all is forgotten at that point. Of course, Matt Gay does it.
Didn't.
Right. Well, no, but I'm saying Janoris Jenkins
on the team not performing.
And he was terrible. And he's going to be terrible for the Saints. That's what I'm saying. Anything else?
And here's hoping.
Well, no, I'm not hoping. I think he's washed. He's washed up. He's not a good corner. And it's, for everybody saying, well, they got a defense around him. He's still a terrible player. And he shouldn't be talking the way he's talking because I tell you right now, Mike Evans would have something to say about it. Thanks a lot, Rick.
I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Absolutely, Rick. Thanks a lot for the call. Appreciate you, all right?
Got it.
All right. We got TJ Pittenger of the Big Three roll-up coming on here in just about 5 minutes. So go ahead, Alex. I'll let you finish. I'll put you in the lobby. I'll bring you back if you want to come back, and we can argue after TJ is on. Okay.
I'd love to. Pete, yes. Why does it surprise you that the NFC South champions continue to treat us like we're the redheaded stepchild? Respect is not given, it is earned.
Right.
Okay? We've been in the basement for quite some time. We have something to prove. They don't.
But the guy
joined the best team in the division.
But the guy's not a Saint. He hasn't been a Saint for his whole tenure there. He's come on as a free agent. Shut your mouth. Prove yourself. You're not a Saint. You haven't been a Saint. That's all I'm saying. All right. Really quick, let's get to these comments from Rob Gronkowski, the relic, as you called him, Alex Fleming. He talked about this today on CBS Sports Radio. I believe it was with Tiki and Tierney. Tell you what, let's hold off on the calls. We got another guest coming on here in TJ Pittenger, so we'll hold off on the calls right now. But Gronkowski basically said to CBS Sports Radio, he definitely had to come back. If he was going to come out of retirement, it had to be the right situation. He also said, developing a chemistry with the quarterback is not an easy task, and already having that with Brady leaves Gronkowski feeling like there will be much to enjoy over the coming months. In fact, this is what he had to say. Also, I was feeling healthy. I had that juice going again. When Tom and I talked a little bit, just thought about the situation and how we can pull it off, and everything went well. Everything went down as planned, and the situations all lined up. I thought it was a great opportunity that I couldn't pass on. It's just going to be fun. It's going to be cool. So you convinced after those comments that Mr. Gronkowski is definitely motivated to have a pretty good year fantasy-wise?
I have no doubt that Gronkowski is motivated. I'm not going to repeat what I had to say to calm down some of these Boston-Tampa Bay fans about Gronkowski's health and benefit to the team. I'm not going to repeat it because I don't have to repeat it because you know what? It's still ringing in their ears.
Okay.
This is what I'll say. With OJ, Brait, Hudson, and Auclair, he won't have to play the amount of minutes that he had to play in New England. The longer he stays healthy, the more volatile this offense can be. We need to worry about health. We need to worry about us and not this outside crowd noise. It's like letting these haters get to you. Bro, Peter, take it from one who knows. You want haters. They let you know you're doing something right. Janoris is jaw-jacking and he just got to the team. Yes, he joined the team that's been whooping ass in the division. He hasn't done a damn thing. And he's going to have to cover Godwin, all right? Not Gilmore, but Davenport's going to be covering Evans. That's fine. I would love to see how the hell he's going to cover Godwin. Because Godwin is going to be a PPR monster this year. So he's going to get his. Don't worry about that. He's going to get his. But we need to worry about us. We need to get not one but two tackles. We need to get that playbook down. We need a backup behind Brady. And then let the good times roll. Nobody's going to touch us if we can do those three things. COVID is spiking in Florida. I believe, just quote me, I believe that if we delay the season for a month and we start in October and people actually, damn it, listen and put away their entitlement and wear a damn face mask, I believe we're going to have a full season. Peter, you and I, we've already talked about this. You know about my contingency plan and how it would all work, and it would drive people crazy because football would be 365 literally and figuratively. Wash your damn hands, stop feeling entitled, wear a damn face mask for not yourself but for other people, and then just chill. Just chill. Don't tear down any statues. Don't go to any damn rallies. Mind your damn business. Let's have some football.
All right, man. Let me put you back in the lobby. We'll bring you back in a moment here. Stand by. Good stuff. Alex Fleming, the flamethrower himself, always bringing it here on the evolution of Sports Talk Television. Let's see. Let's go ahead. Read these comments before we get TJ Pittenger on of the Big Three roll-up. Let's see here. Glass now has it too. Meadows has COVID. Wow. Glass now has it too. But Glass now is back. Glass now had it too. I don't know if that's a report. Yep, he got put on the IL today, or at least they announced it today. All right, Alex, stunting is stunting. If one player has COVID, plays in a game, the season is canceled. Say it with me, Alex. Season is canceled. Blake, Ben Cornett, what's wrong with that? Alex is right. What was Alex drinking? Rick, the NHL moves right along prepping for a season. The NBA moves right along prepping for a season. Major League Baseball moves right along prepping for a season. But some people keep saying, I don't think there's going to be a season. Well, it hasn't happened yet. There has been no season, Rick. I definitely understand it. They want to have a season and everybody wants to be optimistic. But at the end of the day, the optics and the statistics do not lie, especially when it comes to this virus. Looks like the equivalent of poop. We need Rick Brown on the show to talk about this Washington issue. Alex is laughing. 2020 wants to take Xanax. They definitely need to. 2020 absolutely has been one of the worst years of all time. It really has. And then it's been one of the best years of all time if you're a Bucks fan. The dude, Alex, fried. Jay Gruden looks like a blob in the face. There's some weirdos there. Big money men taking control of their environment. Washington should relocate to a good city. Best virtual edits video, even though Robert Kraft has his own. Oh, that's not funny. Rick, I'm very bothered by the allegations that allegedly referees were paid off. Washington should relocate to Peter City. Well, that would be Clearwater. That wouldn't work. Jenkins is my cousin. Chill, Peter. No, he's not. Lies. Rob Morgan. Last time we were called paper champions, Lee Flowers ate his words that would be for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Good stuff, Rob. Appreciate it. Amen, Alex. Best virtual edits video. Okay. What if he got burned? What the actual Peter players will talk. I'm saying he could talk. It's just not good. It's not a good talk. Saying, oh, what's this paper? Yeah, okay, it's this paper. It's also a paper that you're going to lose because you couldn't cover Mike Evans. You're not a New Orleans Saint. You signed with them this year. Okay? You haven't been a Saint forever here. So stop acting like you're a part of this winning culture. You're not. You were on the New York Giants, and you were terrible last year. 180 yards, 3 touchdowns. Put it down. Best virtual edits video, Carlton Davis and SMB. We are definitely powered up. Rob Morgan, everyone is focused on our offense, yet we will go as far as the defense takes us this year. If they take the next step as we expect, when is the last time a Todd Bowles defense had an offense like this? It's a great point, Rob, and you're definitely bringing it here the last 2 days. Appreciate you here coming on. I agree a lot with what Alex said, but I see your side as well, Peter. That's good. Different perspectives offer a better show. That's what the Sports Web is all about. Yes, sir. Plus Dean. Facts. Don't forget my boy Peter Blake. He's locking down the wings and the back end too. And Whitehead plus Winfield, young but stacked. Deontay Moore. Wow. Where have you been, Deontay? This team is definitely a Super Bowl contender, but there's a 2-year window. Once Winston takes the reins for the Saints, it's going to be a dogfight for the top of the division for the next decade. Him being paired with Sean Payton is dangerous. I agree. He has the opportunity. I just don't think it's going to happen this year unless there is an injury to Drew Brees or Taysom Hill. Hello, I just got done beating Streets of Rage 2. That's a good game. Jenkins is my cousin. No, he's not. If Washington paid the refs off, and they should get their money back because, yeah, it didn't equate to a lot of wins. That's for sure. Dylan, Jenkins is your cousin for real. Grandmother's side. And let's see here. Grandmother's side. And, yes, Jenkins is my cousin. And Rashard Jenkins from the Chargers, really. And he thinks there will be a season. Okay. That's dope. Stuntin' is stuntin'. Eminem is the greatest rapper of all time. Stuntin', yes. Dick dyslexic. I hate you. I really do. All right. We don't have our guest on yet, so we'll take some phone calls. Whoever called, I think it was Ben Cornett. Call back if you want to. Expecting TJ Pittenger of the roll-up big 3 or the 3 big, I think it's the roll-up big 3, 727-255-0391 and 727-255-0391. We got Alex on. We'll take your phone calls. Lots of talk tonight about COVID. Lots of talk about a lot of things at this juncture, and it's been crazy. It's been passionate tonight. So we're just waiting for our guest. But, to go back into the Rob Gronkowski comments, to me, that's a person that's motivated, more motivated than he's ever been. And look, he took off a year, but there's been a lot of talk about the reason why he took off in the first place, because he didn't like the Bill Belichick atmosphere, if you will. He didn't like all those rules. His body was broken down. He did have multiple back injuries. He's had multiple concussions, but maybe that year did him some good. All right, let's go out to our guest right now, Mr. TJ Pittenger of the Landry Football Network. And of course, it is the Big 3 roll-up, correct?
Yes, sir. How you guys doing tonight?
Welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. And as I always ask every guest that comes on the Sports Web, you're here locally in Tampa. Did you ever think in a million years that Tom Brady was going to be the starting quarterback of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
I don't think – no. Short answer, no. I don't think any NFL fan anywhere ever thought that he would be the quarterback anywhere outside of Foxborough. So, yeah, I probably thought the Bucs were last on the options. But, yeah, I never thought that this would be the case.
Yeah, for me, it comes back to not thinking he's going to leave New England, and then you hear that there's a rift a couple years ago because Belichick wanted Garoppolo and Robert Kraft wanted to stick with Brady, and that's where it all started. And, of course, Alex Guerrero. And, with the Buccaneers finishing 7-9, nobody thinks that he's going to leave New England. He does, and he picks this team. Should fans be optimistic about this situation with the greatest of all time, basically telling everybody that not only this is a playoff contender, but a Super Bowl one?
I mean, there's optimism, right? There's always optimism. Fan is short for fanatic. So there was optimism last year, right? With the team the Bucks had. And so there's certainly optimism. I think it needs to be baited. I don't mean to be the guy to come on and play negative Nancy. It does need to be baited. I'd say that their roster, and you guys have had Chris Landry on, who knows way more about, roster breakdowns than I do. Their roster is either just behind or maybe even with the Saints. And so I think that in a playoff system, I mean, we've seen teams go 9-7 and win 3 games in the playoffs and go to the Super Bowl. So yes, could it happen? Absolutely. Could a team get hot? Absolutely. I think it needs to be somewhat baited. I don't know that, I think the Bucks definitely are fighting for a playoff spot, probably make the playoffs. Do I think that they've taken that next step to where I'd call them a Super Bowl contender? There's not a lot of really, really strong teams in the NFC. I think in the AFC, I would never pick the Bucks over the Chiefs. I would never pick them over the Ravens. In the NFC, if they can be better than the Saints, I mean, that's probably looking at a 2 or 3 seed in the NFC. So, yeah, I mean, it's possible. They've got to improve a lot of things to do it. So if you get in the playoffs, I mean, the NFL is so unique that you just have to get hot in December and in January and you're good. So playoffs, absolutely. Super Bowl, we'll see.
What kind of big improvements could you see? What's the biggest question mark in your opinion for the Bucks going into 2020?
I mean, it's got to be on the defensive side of the ball. Obviously the turnovers are going to be way down with Winston. The yardage and touchdowns totals are probably going to be lower too. So some of that offense is going to be lost. Some of the mistakes are going to be lost. That's probably a net gain. I think that Brady will not throw for as many yards or touchdowns or interceptions as Winston did. And so, all of that reduced. The offense is probably I would better just from turning the ball over, but they won't score as many points, in my opinion. They won't have to score as many points. The running game and the defense has to improve. Winston threw a lot of interceptions, but he was also throwing the ball 40, 50 times a game. And Brady's arm is going to fall off in week 6 if we ask him to do that. The defense has to get better. They did show improvement toward the end of the year. It really seemed like in crunch time, we couldn't get those vital stops. And the Bucks defense was so boom or bust, right? It was either the other team was scoring or we're picking the ball off or we're forcing a fumble. I feel like nobody ever punted against us. And so if the defense can improve, the secondary can improve, which they did down the stretch last year, they got better. I love the defensive line. I love the linebacking core. I love Devin White and those guys. So if the secondary can improve and the running game can improve, I think we'll be in great shape. If those two things do improve by week 4 or 5, I mean, you'll know how it's kind of gelling together. And then we can kind of get bold and say, hey, this team has a serious shot at making some noise. If we can't cover anybody in the secondary and we're running for 40 yards a game and Brady's arm's about to fall off, we're going to go 9-7, Yeah,
I mean, to me, the biggest question, it has to be the offensive line with the 47 sacks, but you mentioned the running game. What are your thoughts on Ronald Jones and a Keyshawn Vaughn? And do you feel like the Bucs should go in a different direction and maybe pick up a veteran like a Devontae Freeman or LaShawn McCoy?
So I'm a Florida State guy, so I'm always going to cap for Devontae Freeman. I think he's a great talent. I've chatted with him a few times up in Tallahassee and stuff like that. So I love Devontae. I don't know. I think that with Brady, you've seen him really excel with strong running games, good defenses, right? Like he is the greatest of all time. That's undisputed. He's made clutch plays when they had to be made. He's always been consistently good, but he's always had a good running game, a good defense to really help him with that. Whether he had a lot of weapons or didn't have a lot of weapons at receiver, those were kind of the staples of those New England teams that dominated and won and were great. I like Ronald Jones, and I think that the Bucs were down so much last year and needed to throw that they got away from it, and they also came out throwing. Jameis threw interceptions on the first drive several times, but that's because we came out and threw the ball like 7 times in a row, and so. I'm obviously being a Florida State guy. I'm going to minimize Jameis's mistakes and cap for him and go off for him. But at the same time, I mean, there was no trust in the running game last year by the coaches and stuff. And so will that trust be there this year with Ronald Jones? If it is, great. Let's roll with him. Let's roll with Keyshawn. If not, yeah, let's go get a veteran to do it. I will say running back, running back over replacement is the easiest position in the league, right? Like you run through the hole that you're supposed to run through, right? There's if the offensive line is good, a mediocre to average running back can look amazing. And so I trust Ronald Jones. I trust the running back core we have if the offensive line gets improved. If not, you talked about the 47 sacks. There are times Winston held on to the ball too long, and there are times that if he wasn't as mobile and strong, he probably would have taken 60 sacks with our offensive line. And so, to answer your question, yeah, I trust the guys here. I'd love Devontae. I'd love some of the guys that are out there. I really don't want to pay for those guys. And I know that Devontae wants more money than, I would probably think that we should pay in Tampa because we do need to improve the offensive line. But to me, it's more about the O-line than it is the actual running backs.
And we're on with TJ Pittenger of the Landry Football Network. Of course, we're on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and then, of course, the Landry Football Network Twitch channel. Of course, the Big Three roll-up college football. He's talking about Florida State. I have to go – at first I have to say this with Ronald Jones. To me, this is the three words I think of. Victim of volume. That's Ronald Jones to me. He didn't get enough volume. And
No.
I think when you give this kid enough carries, he gets to that second or third level, he's very special, much like a Florida State great. I think the Bucs have not had that in a long time. That would be Warrick Dunn. When he gets to that second or third level, he is really electric and can make things happen. Now, speaking of Florida State and Jameis Winston, why do you think it didn't work out here? And do you think that eventually it will work out somewhere, if not with the Saints, then with another team?
I'll answer him backwards. I think it really needs to work out with the Saints. I mean, he's in – I don't know if there is a better situation for him to take a step back and learn from a quarterback who is an all-time great and is still honestly performing better than Brady is. Like, I think Breeze is still performing at a higher level. Look at their numbers from last year. So I don't think there's a better situation for Jameis to sit behind somebody who is awesome, learn from them, take a year off, take a year to not have to be the man and roll with it, right? Like, so I think he's in a good situation. So I think he needs to succeed with the Saints. Like, this needs to be what happens. If not, man, I don't know. Like, he ends up, on some terrible roster in Cleveland or Cincinnati, or not Cincinnati now, but he just ends up somewhere absolutely god awful and plays with the Jags as a second stringer, so it needs to work out here. Will it? I'm a glass half full guy. Although you guys were a little late, so I'm not quite half full anymore, but on this one. So will it? I think it will. Like, I believe in him. I don't know if it's just from watching those college years. I think it will. I think that Trevor Sikkema, who's a good buddy of mine, did an article kind of breaking down his interceptions and which ones were on him, which ones weren't. He had way too many, regardless of how many were or weren't on him. Last quarter of the year, last year, he played with nobodies at wide receiver. I mean, we kind of forget that, but the last 4 games, Evans and Godwin were out. Actually, I think Evans caught the first touchdown of that fourth to last game and then pulled his hamstring and was out. They were both out the last 4 weeks. OJ Howard was, absolutely awful last year for most of the year. And so, Winston's targets those last 4 weeks were just absolutely awful. Why did it not work here? I mean, the Bucs were a bad team when he got drafted here, right? Like, we forget about that, right? We won 7 games last year. We won 9 at one point with him. Like, we came percentage points away from making the playoffs his second year. I believe we beat Carolina, lost to the Saints. If we would have beaten the Saints and lost to Carolina, we would have made the playoffs that second year. His first year, he tripled the win total, or the Bucs tripled the win total. So, I mean, first of all, he was drafted to a very bad team. And I think that what Jameis excels with is he excels when let me back up just a little. I think that the Bucs built the team around him by just placing as many weapons as they could, right? Mm-hmm. And whether this is more his fault or their fault, you're probably talking to a Winston homer, and so that's kind of what it ends up being. The Bucs put an inordinate amount of weapons around him, never improved the offensive line, and we haven't been able to stop anybody for all 5 years that he's been here. I mean, the defense has just been god awful. The last couple of years, the defensive line, the linebackers have improved. We've had good pieces. You know, we've had Levante David the whole time he's been here. You know, I think drafting White was a good pick. I think we've missed on some draft picks and stuff like that. And we drafted a kicker, you know, the 2 years after Winston was taken, or the year after Winston was taken. We never improved the offensive line. We never improved the running game. And so, yes, the weapons were amazing that Winston had. But the defense and the offensive line, the running game were just god awful. And so, yeah, some of that's on the Bucs organization. They did not put – I mean, they put the pieces around him to throw to. But, I mean, Jameis will throw to Jameis was throwing to Perriman last year like it was nobody's business. You know, like he doesn't need Mike Evans. I mean, obviously Mike Evans is nice to have, and I'm glad we do have him. So I don't know. I think that's a little bit of what led to his downfall. Obviously, the turnovers are on him. You know, there's nothing to say that it's not. I think at the same time, the Bucs put too much on him, having him throw the ball 50 times a game, and we talked about that. Not trusting the running game is ultimately on the coaching staff, and that. If he throws the ball 50 times a game, I mean, 4 of them are getting picked off. I mean, he's going to throw for 5 touchdowns. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, he's going to throw for 500 yards in that game. But if he throws the ball 50 times, 4 of them are getting picked off. And one of them is going back to the house. So, I mean, does he have to make better decisions? Absolutely. Is it right for him to throw 50 times a game? Probably not, you know. And you look at those Florida State teams. I mean, the running backs on those teams were amazing. You know, Dalvin Cook, Devontae Freeman. I mean, James Wilder was on those teams. He made it in the NFL. Carlos Williams made it in the NFL. I mean, those teams were stacked at running back. And so having a guy that you can consistently get 4, 5, 6 yards of carry with at Florida State, I mean, he's never had that in Tampa. So a little bit of both. A little bit of, you know, his mistakes and the organization, 5 offensive coordinators that he's had and everything else, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's a change of systems, and it kind of like the system changed the first year because you have a Doug Martin that runs for over 1,000 yards. He gets his big-time contract, and then basically he has off-the-field problems, is never effective, and it seemed like Dirk Cutter changed the offense, and the one thing that I hated that I still cringe at is the fact that they had Dalvin Cook on the board, and I'm a Florida State homer myself, but you had Dalvin Cook on the board and you took OJ Howard. And I get it's all about value and you want to, you know, spread the wealth around. But can you imagine if you had a running back that you had faith in and a Cook? And there was rumors out there. The reason why they didn't draft Cook is because there were problems in Florida. They wanted to get him out of the home state of Florida. So that's why he got drafted in Minnesota as a 2nd round pick. But still, you have that opportunity to get a running back. Running back can be the best friend for a quarterback like a Jameis Winston. And stats have shown that if you can keep him at 30 to 32 passes a game, he's not going to throw that many interceptions.
Yeah, I mean, not only did they have we've passed on a lot of great running backs in the NFL. That's exactly who I just Googled. Now, Kamara was kind of the steal of the draft. You know, I mean, don't get me wrong. There are a lot of teams that passed on him, so I get it. But I mean, yeah, there are some head scratchers there. I mean, I was all in on Dalvin. Like I had, you know, edits made. I was posting on my Facebook. We're taking him without a doubt. I was in Hawaii when that draft happened, and I was like, I'm ordering 4 Mai Tais as soon as they take him. You know, I was ready. And we draft Howard, and I was just like, no, like we needed a running game. So yeah, I mean, I think it goes both ways. I mean, obviously, I mean, and you can ask Chris about this. He's way harder on Winston than I am, but he's also not a fan of him. But if you don't put some blame on having 5 offensive coordinators in 5 years or whatever he had, maybe it was just 4, there was a different change every single year. And you look at some of the other interception numbers under Arians their first year, Carson Palmer and different guys that played on it, it's been really, really high. And so, I mean, we'll kind of get it. I mean, I'll just kind of give you my take on the whole Brady thing. I'm excited about Brady, but I'm also just like, man, we really mortgaged the chance of the future for a 2-year run. You know, it needs to happen in one of the next 2 years, or else we just start starting over. You know, the contracts for everybody else will be super high. We'll have to just basically mortgage everything. So anyway, it's unfortunate that we didn't get to see Winston that second year under Arians, but again, I think he's in a good situation in New Orleans.
Yeah, I think he's in a good situation in New Orleans. We're on with TJ Pittenger of the Landry Football Network, the Big 3 roll-up, of course, covering the state of Florida. That would be the Florida State Seminoles, Florida Gators, and Miami Hurricanes, who, by the way, they canceled some of their workouts. We'll get back to college football in a moment because some unsettling news from the NCAA president about the future of college football this year. But OJ Howard, he has the great opportunity to really kind of set back here. He doesn't have to be the number one starter. Is that the guy you could see that could blossom finally until what the Buccaneers drafted him for as a Gronkowski, like he's going to be able to learn from Gronkowski? Could you see him putting up good numbers this year simply because he doesn't have the pressure of being the number one guy now that's on Gronk?
Yeah, I think so. And I think we all want Howard to do really well. And well, certainly as Bucs fans, but like, I was kind of in favor of like, man, I really like Bray, we've got Gronk now and all these weapons, like if we can get some value for it. But then again, I think the Bucs kind of mismanaged that by leaking that they wanted to, get him traded and stuff. And so nobody would offer us anything for him. But yeah, I really want Howard to be great. I mean, you saw him, his rookie year, and I thought the connection with him and Winston was really, really good. And then he kind of just fell off a cliff last year. And it was, obviously we'll never forget the interception that obviously gets credited to Winston, where it hits him right in the chest and he fumbles it around and it falls on his back and then right into the defender's arms. I mean, I don't know if it was pressure for having to be the number one guy, because even as the number one guy, he's still the third option as a passing target. And so hopefully now by being the fifth option as a passing target, it'll back that down just a little bit to where he doesn't have that pressure. But yeah, I think learning from Gronk, I think Brady will perform and be good. I have no expectations for Gronkowski. And honestly, just because he's been away for so long, his body was so torn up in New Orleans, I just have no clue what we're going to get from a production standpoint there. I do feel good about OJ Howard and Brady being under him. I think he provides a lot from an experience level, just a coaching level. He seems like a pretty fun-loving, enjoyable guy. So hopefully we don't party too hard. Maybe the COVID's a good thing to keep those guys inside. But I think those guys getting to be around him and interacting with him is massive. And I think that they'll learn a lot there. So I don't know. I'm excited. Jury's still out on Howard. I mean, this is certainly a prove-it year for him. And so we'll kind of see what he's able to do.
Any concern about Donovan Smith and the possibility of him opting out? Because there was a lot of controversy with his comments last week on if he felt safe in the workplace. He has a kid, his first kid in the next 2 weeks here. So, any concern? Do you think the Bucs are concerned with him opting out? And if you do have to opt out, are you confident enough to go with the Tristan Wirfs, who's a rookie out of Iowa, at that left tackle spot?
Well, I talk about baptism by fire. I mean, I don't know enough. It's so hard to tell, like what Donovan Smith's going to do. I mean, there's certainly concern around it when guys voice that concern and say, I'm worried about this. I'm not going to do this. The one saving grace that I will say, or maybe two, so I'm a big NBA guy, and I've seen a lot of NBA guys say, like, I'm not going to the bubble. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to Orlando. I'm not putting my family at risk. I'm not doing this, that, and the other. And then they've all showed up, right? So at the end of the day, it's not like me or you going to work at our 9 to 5, where we're risking, between $30,000 and $70,000 a year, right? It's a much bigger paycheck. It's also a much larger organization to take care of them and do testing properly. Whereas at our 9 to 5, they're probably not doing that every single day. When he steps on the facilities at One Buck Place or goes into the Raymond James Stadium, he is tested, I'm sure. And so I think that's kind of the saving grace is, could he still opt out and say, like, I'm not doing it? Absolutely. But those dollars speak a lot. And so hopefully, you got to do what's best for your family. It would not surprise me if he kind of said, like, hey, what's best for my family is being cautious, being safe, being around guys that are getting tested. Everybody's being tested every day. If they don't pass the test, they're sent home. And I'm gonna play, football and provide for my family in really an extraordinary way. So hopefully not. If Wirfs has to step in, I think that's a concerning thing for a bad offensive line last year. Landry is very much on the Jameis held on the ball too long. Jameis's average release time was 2.7 seconds last year. Tom Brady's was 2.5. So it's a difference of 0.2 of a second. It's no difference at all, right? Like they were literally neck and neck in the rankings of that. And so it's not good news if Wirfs had to start. I like the talent there. I like the future. I like the prospect of it. Do I want him as the starting week one In New Orleans, no, I don't. I don't think that's what I want. I think it'll be great long term. I like the pick. I don't think that's what I want week 1.
Did they do everything they could in the draft? I mean, you talk about Tristan Wirfs. You also get an Antoine Winfield Jr., who's his dad played in the NFL, so you feel like he'll have an advantage. Big-time playmaker, ball hawk out of Minnesota. And then you also talked about Keyshawn Vaughn. But I think the guy that everybody should be looking out for, and I got a chance to talk to him at the Outback Bowl, is Tyler Johnson. Do you feel like Tyler Johnson could be one of those, if you will, uncut gems from the Adam Sandler movie where he absolutely breaks out because Tom Brady sees he likes to throw to a third wide receiver. Johnson may be in the slot. And then you have defenders that could be doubling on Evans and also Godwin. So do you think that's where Johnson, or is it a Scotty Miller, in your opinion, that could break out for this offense?
Yeah, so to kind of go by one by one, I like Wirfs. I like what they've done on the offensive line. I do like Tyler Johnson in there, and we'll go back to the other ones. I think that the door is open for somebody, right? Because Evans is going to be covered, Godwin's going to be covered. Best defenders going on those two guys. You know, your big, good coverage safety / linebacker, depending on how the defenses are set up, they're going for the tight end, whether that's OJ or Gronk. And then you've got it open, right? It's either if they're on Gronk, OJ's open. If they're not, Tyler Johnson's open. I was actually kind of excited. Perriman really frustrated me toward the beginning of the year. I feel like he dropped a couple of touchdowns. He was I think it was that Carolina game that we ended up winning up there week 2. Perriman frustrated the heck out of me, dropping touchdowns, and you're really just struggling. And then toward the end of the year, like I said, he was James's number 1 target because everybody was hurt, and he really played a lot better. And I was kind of excited about him being that next option. Well, we obviously don't re-sign him, and so he's not back. But I mean, it's open for Tyler Johnson, and he's there. If he can step up and improve himself, I mean, he's right. Everything he wants is right there for the taking. You know, somebody's going to be not wide open a lot of times, but somebody's going to have coverage mismatches a lot. There are a lot of guys on this team that have to be covered, and if we can have the protection and we can hit that over the middle, I'm telling you, Brady lives on that Wes Welker, that Julian Edelman type that goes for 7 to 8 yards, 7 to 8 yards. If Evans isn't open for the 20-plus yard pass, or Godwin isn't, or Gronk or whomever, that 7 to 8 yard pass against a linebacker where he can cut and then cut upfield because of his speed is huge. I like Antoine as well. I think that, you know, the safety play has been terrible. Talking about another Florida State guy that we passed up on, I think Derwin James should have been the pick over Vita Vea a couple of years ago. I just think that, you know, worst passing defense in the league years and years and years in a row. And we had the best run defense. I don't know if that's more of a product of people not running against us because they pass all over us, or that we had a good run defense, maybe a little bit of both. But I thought Derwin James should have been that guy. I think that now improving that secondary, again, something that I said was a big key to us having success this year. I think Winfield's a good pick there, and I like it a lot.
Have you changed your mind on the Vea? Because he definitely showed out last year, and you're exactly right. The Bucs were number 1 against the run. He showed some flashes of brilliance offensively. I mean, he's an athletic guy. I mean, have you changed your mindset on that? I get it. Derwin James is really good coming into the league. He was injured last year. He was good at Florida State, but have you changed your mind on that? I
mean, change my mind and being okay with it are probably two different things. If you still offered me today, I mean, replacing, like, you never knew that like a freak injury would happen to Derwin. Replacing that, I think Derwin's athleticism is a generational talent type thing. So I would still take Derwin James. Would I take Derwin James coming off the injury? Probably not. Like, I'll stick with Vita, but I'm very happy with Vita Vea's production. I'm very happy that he's on our roster. I think he fills out that defensive line in a great way. I love the defensive line and linebacker. I think it's the best, one of the best defensive line linebacker, you know, front 7 units in the NFL. And so if I had it all over again, I still probably say draft Derwin, because I also know who we picked up on the defensive line since then, JPP and all the other guys. So yes, I probably still draft Derwin in that situation, but I'm very, very okay with that one. As opposed to the one we talked about with OJ and Dalvin, I take Dalvin in a heartbeat right now. Like, I put that back out. So yes, I'm okay with the pick. So very politician type answer there.
Not at all. I understand that, TJ. Here's the thing. Do you think Dalvin Cook will get his big-time contract with the Vikings, or do you think he'll move on?
I don't think he does, but I also don't think he gets it anywhere, man. Running backs just do not have that value. I think the easiest position.
Don't tell Derrick Henry that now, TJ. He got paid yesterday. McCaffrey's gotten paid, but I think you're definitely right about running back value. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I hope he does. Like, I love Dalvin. I mean, he kept Florida State from sinking 3 years earlier than they should have, So I love Dalvin. I hope he gets it. I think I really don't have any kind of info on some of those rumors as to why he didn't end up getting drafted into a Florida team. But if that was the situation, I mean, obviously he's gone away and done fantastic for himself, coming back off of injury a couple of times. So, I mean, I hope he does. I mean, he's a great, great talent. I mean, he's somebody that I'd love to get down here. Obviously, we wouldn't pay it. But I don't know if he does. I just think running back is, again, the easiest position to translate from college to pros, right? Like it is the easiest position to pick up and learn. And that's why you see running backs come in and just be dominant, like Barkley and Cook and these guys that, Gurley when he came out, Devontae Freeman as a rookie was amazing. These guys come out and so that the shelf life of running backs is so small. The window is so small. They get just absolutely beat on. And there's another crop of them coming in every year from the college ranks. And so, I mean, if I'm a team, I don't pay a running back huge. I mean, Tennessee, a little bit special situation where they, that's all they do is run the ball. I mean, their quarterback situation is god awful, and so also Carolina uses McCaffrey so much differently than just a running back. So that's kind of a Kamara / McCaffrey type situation. So I think those situations are a little bit different. Not that Dalvin can't catch passes, but he's not pulling a Christian McCaffrey where he's going for 2,000 all-purpose yards every single year. So I don't know. I hope he does. I don't know if he does. But, I mean, I don't know if he gets that anywhere. Who else is about to offer him, the money he wants? Or does he just leave because they didn't offer it and take less somewhere else?
Yeah, he may do that. I mean, he may take it less than somewhere else, but definitely you're exactly right. I mean, he has the numbers, but he hasn't been able to stay healthy. If he has a good year this year, I almost feel like he's either going to get paid from Minnesota or he'll definitely opt out and go somewhere else. And somebody will be willing to pay, but you're exactly right with the running back situation. Talking about Florida State, how do you feel about Willie Taggart and how do you feel about where this program is going? And the name escapes me, the new coach there coming from
Memphis, Mike Norvell.
Yes. Well, do you think they're going in the right direction finally? And then after that question, do you feel like they're going to even have a college football season with everything up in the air? Because all these comments from the NCAA president and all the leagues kind of closing down and suspending at this point, it kind of leads you to believe that there's not going to be a college football year. What do you think?
So I'll just answer the elephant in the room first. I don't think there's a college football season. I think if there is, man, it's just so weird if there is, right? Like the Pac-12 is doing their own thing, and the SEC is doing every conference is doing their own thing. How do you even regulate that, right? Like the SEC saying we want to play a couple of out of conference games, and other conferences said no, you're only allowed to play your conference games. And so if Ohio State finishes 8-1 and Bama finishes at 8-0 and Bama finishes at 8-2, but both their losses were out of conference, and then they win their tournament, like how do you even, at least when it's a regular season or a normal season, everybody plays the same number of games, and it's much easier to distinguish it by. So I don't know. It just seems like such a cluster already. I don't think that the number of games should have been reduced yet. I think you just play all or nothing. I don't think – I mean, are you telling me that it's safer for Florida State to travel to Syracuse to play a game than it is for them to travel to Gainesville, when we go to an all-ACC schedule? And so, to me, that's just kind of – I mean, it's dumb. I understand why they did it. I think they did it more from a perspective of, every conference operates on their own. That way, if something happens in one, not everybody has to change. But again, it's just so dumb to me. I think you either play it all or you don't play it. So I think that this is just the first couple of steps. I think the season ends up getting canceled, just like all the other fall sports will. I think that's just kind of what happens. If kids aren't back on campus, you can't have a season. Like and they're asking kids to sign waivers and stuff. And so I don't know. I mean, all COVID takes aside and the way that that's been politicized and blown up and stuff, I just don't think that, every side of it's politicized, by the way. Let me just not even upset somebody, but like every side of everything gets politicized. But I mean, it's sad that it is going to impact college football, and I don't think we have a season. That said, I do think we are heading in the right direction because we're no longer going down, or hopefully no longer going down. I mean, Taggart was just so far in over his head. Chris has talked about this a ton. The disorganization and just the lack of understanding of how to run a big-time program was just undeniable. We had a big visit, a big junior day visit, his first summer there. Ton of support for them. Florida State fans felt like a battered ex, with Jimbo leaving the way he did, and so much support and excitement and enthusiasm, selling out his spring game, which we had never done. Well, I wasn't a sellout, I'm sorry, but 50,000 plus for a spring game, which we had never done. I was there that night. It was wild. It was crazy. I was down on the field afterwards, and it was so, so cool. And then, comes out and just flops. We had a junior day visit where kids were coming to visit to be recruited and waited outside for 2 hours because of just the lack of organization from the top to the bottom of his program. So I think moving on from Taggart was absolutely the right call. I am very cautiously optimistic on Norvell. I think he's a good coach. Can he do it at this level? There's a difference between Memphis and Florida State University when it comes to football. He did it in Memphis, and he did a great job. He says all the right things, but again, so did Taggart. And so it's a very baited, cautiously optimistic situation. I think the worst thing that could possibly happen for Norvell is us to not have a season. It's hard to sell. You can only sell the hopes and dreams and sell the dreams so much. You need to get out on the field and prove it. So Florida State needed to take a step forward. It wasn't going to be beating Clemson this year. It probably wasn't going to be beating Florida this year, but it was not getting blown out by Miami, looking like you have a pulse against Florida and Clemson, and then beating everybody else. You can't lose to Wake Forest and Virginia, these bad teams. And so Norvell needs a season. I just don't think it happens, unfortunately for him. But I'm optimistic. We'll kind of see what he can do with or without a season.
Was it all Willie Taggart, or was that Jimbo Fisher's mess? Because to me, it seems like it was more Fisher's mess. He left at the right time. He knew he was leaving the Titanic. All the recruiting, the lack of recruiting, if you will. And then Taggart comes in, and Taggart coached at USF. He's coached at bigger programs. Do you think Florida State was patient enough with him? And how many years do you think Norvell will get? If you don't have a year this year, do you give him at least 2 to 3 years to turn around that program? And if he doesn't, are you looking for another coach?
I think that with Taggart, there was definitely a mess left by Jimbo. The offensive line recruiting and the quarterback recruiting, really two of the biggest things. Florida State, the year we won it, Florida State obviously had the greatest quarterback that they'd ever seen, and 5 NFL linemen. 5 guys that played at the next level. And so quarterback recruiting and offensive line recruiting, especially in the state of Florida, is so massive. And so Jimbo had a lot of attrition at the quarterback position in recruiting. He recruited good talent, but, DeAndre Johnson gets kicked out for punching some girl in the bar. Malik Henry, who people were saying would be the next Jameis, just couldn't keep his nose clean. No pun intended there. And all kind of stuff, had to go the JUCO route. Francois gets hurt. Blackman comes in and gets hurt. The attrition of the quarterback position, somewhat unlucky. And that's probably paying for it because we didn't have one injury through the 2013 year. So the attrition there was really unlucky. The offensive line recruiting was just absolutely just terrible. And that does fall on Jimbo. And no matter how many 5-stars wide receivers you had, like we've learned, you can have Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and OJ Howard on the same team. But if you can't block for 10 seconds, you're going to have 47 sacks, or 2 seconds, you're going to have 47 sacks. And so that does fall on Jimbo. I don't know. He probably deserves a small bit of the blame, but we just looked so much more competent under Jimbo than we did Taggart. And I think that's the thing. Jimbo knew how to manage a product that wasn't very good. Taggart's teams have finished number 1 in penalties everywhere he's been. Florida State was number 1 in penalties both years. Oregon was number 1 in penalties, and so was USF. And so that's not on Jimbo. Like as bad of a message Jimbo left, that ain't on him. That's Taggart's disorganization. Game 12 of the season, Taggart's first year, we were still getting called for procedural penalties, not having enough guys on the field, having too many guys on the field. All starts, not holdings, not effort plays, right? Not a face mask where you're trying to get the guy down. Too many guys on the field penalties in week 12. Week 1, you kind of understand. Week 5, you're learning it. Week 12, unacceptable. And then you look at some of the stuff behind the scenes, the recruiting, the guys standing outside, high school kids and their families stand outside for 2 hours because they can't even get inside because of the lack of organization. I think that kind of at the end of the day all did him in. At the same time, it's a program where, you cannot win 5 games and break a 40-year streak. Bobby didn't know who the players were, and they were still having winning seasons and going to bowl games and stuff like that. And so, yeah, did Taggart maybe deserve another year? Could he have turned it around? Maybe, but it just didn't look the optics weren't very good. And so I think it was the right time to move on. He still gets most of the blame. Even as a battered ex, I feel like Jimbo, maybe I'm just giving Jimbo a lot of credit because he won us a national championship. But I think that there's a little bit of Jimbo blame there, but most of that's on Tag.
Okay. All right. Good stuff. And the optics of the state of Florida right now seem to favor the Florida Gators. Would you say that over the other 2 big programs? And then, of course, USF, which I don't know. I feel bad for USF. They had Jim Leavitt. They let him go. They're number 2 in the country. You have a big game versus Rutgers. They get to the top of the mountain, and then all the allegations come out, and you find out that it's all BS, and they can never find a coach and never find anybody that really settle that team down. Yeah. So the optics of the situation, is it the Florida Gators and everybody else in the state of Florida?
By far. They are head and shoulders above everyone else. I know that UCF fans will jump in and want to say that they're part of that, but they absolutely are. Again, head and shoulders above where everybody else is. Florida State doesn't look competitive on the field with them. Miami played them last year, and it took like 5 Florida turnovers for Miami to be in that game, and they still couldn't win it. Miami doesn't look competent right now, losing to FIU and Louisiana Tech. Florida State certainly isn't competent. Florida would blow USF's doors off, although I am hopeful for Jeff Scott to come in and be really, really good. I obviously live here in the Tampa area. My wife graduated from USF, so even though I'm a Florida State guy, I do really want USF to do well. And then even UCF, they kind of had an argument for like, oh, we're great. And there would have been years that UCF would have beaten Florida when they were winning 4 games a year a couple of times. I think they won 4 games twice in 5 years. Yeah, UCF probably would have beaten them some of those years, but I don't know if UCF still has an argument, losing 3 games last year and just not looking the same. Some of those athletes being gone. So yeah, it is clear cut Florida. Then I think you have Miami and then Florida State, UCF in some order, and then kind of your little guys after that. Florida has an opportunity. When Florida State was top dog in this state 6-7 years ago, they won a national championship because they recruited well. They recruited well against the Alabamas and the Georgias and the Clemsons, and they took advantage of it and they won a national championship. When Florida was on top 5 years before that, they were on top of the state. They recruited well. They won a national championship. When Miami was on top 7 years before that in 2001, they recruited better than Florida State in Florida. All 3 teams were good back then, but they took advantage. They won a national championship. That's the thing with Florida right now. They're going to dominate the state for the next year or 2. Maybe more than that, maybe 5 years, like Florida State went on a long run, dominating the state. Florida is head and shoulders better than everybody else, but can they go to the next level? Can they get to where they're up there with the Georgias, the Alabamas, the Clemsons winning national titles? Right now, they're just a really good Florida team. They're just a really good team in this state. They haven't proven themselves against the elites just yet. They're a fringe 5 to 7, top 5 to 7 team. Will they take that next step and jump up? That's kind of really what's the more interesting question to me is they are absolutely the kings of this state, but can they be the kings of the SEC or can they be the kings of college football? And the jury's out there. Yeah, I hope not. I hope
either. Every team turns in the state of Florida, and it used to be the big 3 in the 90s. It used to be Miami, Florida, and Florida State. You would like them to get back to that again, but Florida definitely has something to prove because there's a team called Alabama that would be in their way. TJ Pittenger, thanks a lot for coming on the Evolution. Go ahead promote yourself, where they can follow you on Twitter and find you and interact with you, because we're definitely going to have you on the Sports Web again here, a part of the Landry Football Network.
Yeah, so you can follow me, TJ_Pittenger, Pittinger. I think they put it on the bottom of the screen here for you guys to see it. I produce a podcast called the Big Three Roll Up, big number 3 roll up, again, covering the big 3 schools in Florida, Florida State, Miami. And then I work with Chris Landry and these guys over at the Landry Football Network as well. Ton of new stuff going on over there. You can go to LandryFootball.com and check that out. But again, let me know on Twitter if you think I'm an idiot or if you think I'm wrong about any of this stuff. I'm sure half of it or more is wrong, but appreciate you guys letting me hang out tonight. I've had a good time.
Absolutely, and definitely don't be a stranger here on the evolution of Sports Talk Television, all right?
Thanks, buddy.
All right, there you go. TJ Pittenger of the Big Three Roll-Up, of course, a part of the Chris Landry Football Network. We're proud to be a part of that. And, of course, check out the Twitch channel. And, of course, join the 65,000 following we have here on Facebook. Of course, on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, follow, stalk, whatever they do on Twitter. We'll get Mr. Alex Fleming back on here in a moment. But let's go out to the webheads here. Let's read your comments. And then we will get back to it here on the Evolution. Of course, open phone line 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. All right, so we read that. That was funny, though, to me. Streets of Rage 2, really. Okay, best virtual edits video, grandmother's side. Wow, we are a little bit just behind there. Yes, the Big Three roll up right there. Mike says, I can't wait till baseball season. Is that a Colby pick behind TJ? Mike says, take one game at a time. TJ, of course, Brady's not going to throw for as many yards, as many touchdowns or interceptions. Or drink at this, but if he gets interceptions or I don't know what he's saying. He gets a better running game and hiding that changes everything where he could explode until the box all the way Super Bowl, in my opinion. I think I understand what you were saying. If you have a running game that takes the pressure off of Brady or any quarterback, you have balance to your offense. You have to have that balance, okay? You got to have it. And if you can run the ball, you take the pressure off of Brady. But Brady really usually never throws that many interceptions in the first place. Only threw 8 last year. So you cut down on those turnovers, you have a better running game, and then you leave those opposing defenses guessing. That's exactly what you want to do. Calling it right now, 2021, we get Dalvin Cook, end of story. Okay, cool. Free agent running backs is stacked. I saw that ludicrous post on Facebook that we should pursue Dak Prescott. That's not happening. Jones and Vaughn should be a nice tandem. Again, let me say it. Victim of volume. Victim of volume for a Ronald Jones. And that's my motto going into 2020, and I'm sticking to it. You got to give the kid more carries. Feed him the rock. Feed him the pill. If he's your bell cow, show it on the field. That's what I say. All right. So, hey, guys, what's up? Sorry I'm late. It's okay, Christopher. At least you're tuning in. Best virtual edits video. Yep. Can't stand FSU, but I was livid when we passed on Dalvin Cook. I think there's a lot of fans out there that were livid. Also, there's Gator fans out there that would have nothing to do with Dalvin Cook, and they would forget that Cook absolutely dominated them when he was with the Seminoles. They forget about that. Didn't want him to play for the Bucs no matter what. I feel Scotty Miller is poised for a breakout. Could find himself open a lot this season and has been building a rapport with Brady. We saw with New England's wide receiver core last season, having Brady trust is crucial. Stunting is stunting. I'm going to go to bed. I'm tired. Good night. You're all right. Well, thanks a lot for tuning in here. Thanks for stopping by, I should say. Eric Scott, is Donovan Smith going to play? What's the latest? Nothing official. Just the comments from last week. Very controversial, but very real. I mean, that has kind of been the story the last couple months here with COVID-19. It's a reality. The reality of the situation is that Donovan Smith could opt out. Why? Because it's not a safe working environment. And the NFL and their players don't know what's going to happen. And he also has a kid that he's going to bring into this world in the next 2 weeks. So he doesn't want to pass it on to his family, of course. Who does? But it's a reality. So there's nothing official at this point. Dylan says, I'm a junior at USF. Jeff Scott was a great hire. We shall see. Of course, from Clemson. Dylan says, you can feel the culture change he is initiated in just 6 months. But mostly stay classy. Absolutely stay classy. Let's go ahead and get Mr. Alex Fleming on. Welcome back to the evolution of Sports Talk Television, the flamethrower from Fantasy and Flavors Turf Talk on Saturdays here at 10 o'clock on 10 a.m. on Bucks Report, which I never get up, but I need to get up for. What's up, man?
You never watch my show, Pete, but you always give me support, and that's why I love you, man. That's why I love you.
I do watch your show, but I watch it on the recap, which you can see every show here on Bucks Report. I do watch your recap, but you know how I feel about politics. But I promise I will try to get up and roll out of bed, fix my hair, and watch a little bit of your show, and then maybe try to fall back asleep again. So, sorry.
I wanted to give you reasons why Janoris Jenkins feels so emboldened to say what he has to say.
Go for it.
Can you name me the only 2 running backs that have over 2,000 yards rushing and 2,000 yards receiving in their first 3 years?
I cannot.
That'd be Alvin Kamara and Christian McCaffrey.
Okay.
Can you name me the wide receiver, because there's only one, who's had 450 plus receptions, 5,500 reception yards, and over 30 reception touchdowns?
Michael Thomas?
Yeah, you know it's coming and you still can't stop him. Oh, and by the way, can you give me the only quarterback that has thrown for 5,000 yards 5 times?
That'd be Drew Brees.
So if you're wondering why somebody's talking at the mouth, it's probably because this team's been whooping our ass for the last 3 to 4 years.
Well, I mean, but Janoris has not been a part of it. That's what I'm saying. He's acting like he's a part of it. Well, I'm a part of the Saints culture. Dude, you won nothing. You done nothing. Shut up. That's all I'm saying. Like you can say they're on paper all day long, but to me, when you're mentioning them, they're on paper. That means you care. It's like the person that tunes into your show goes, or writes on your, you like the Facebook groups. They comment on it. Who cares? You do. You know why? Because you commented.
You do. Because you commented.
You commented.
Yeah.
You watch my show. You're the one that's watching me. I'm not watching you. You're not paying me. 727-255-0391. 727-255-0391. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Mr. Alex Fleming of Fantasy and Flavors, the flamethrower himself. So getting back to these Rob Gronkowski comments, you're thinking he's a big fantasy option this year? Or is he? Or
hell no.
Have you changed your mind on the whole relic stat? Because the relic status to me, that's bulletin board material for Gronk. You call him a relic dinosaur.
A 31-year-old tight end with multiple injuries. Bulletin board material. I'm shaking in my boots. I have 5 tight ends I would pick before Rob Gronkowski even entered my occipital. Okay? Real talk. I'd rather have Mark Andrews right now than Gronkowski. You can give me Kelsey, Kittle, or Ertz before Gronkowski. As a matter of fact, give me Darren Waller over Gronkowski. Hey, fantasy alert. I'll take Tyler Higbee this year over Rob Gronkowski. Now, he's at the bottom of the top 10. He's top 10. He's at the bottom.
Jared Goff? Jared Goff? Tyler Higbee?
Okay, you lose Brandon Cooks, and you only have Cooper Kupp, and you have Robert Woods. Inside of the red zone with no more Todd Gurley, who was his security blanket? It was Everett and Tyler Higbee. Higbee can use his size and strength to his advantage. No more Cooks. That means Cook is going to get double teamed. Woods was the PPR monster. In the red zone, Higbee was money. I'm calling it. Tyler Higbee, fantasy sleep.
Okay, I would say that you should be sleeping on Jared Goff because he's terrible. He's a terrible quarterback. 727-255-0391 and 727-255-0391. Going back to what TJ said, TJ Pittenger of the Big Three roll-up, do you think there's going to be a college football season? Of course, we mentioned this today. The MEAC has canceled. The Patriot League, the Ivy League. Do you feel like there's going to be a college football season this year with all these cancellations, or is there no college football And then we start to talk about a guy like a Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields basically opting out so they can go to the NFL.
Well, I spoke about this on my show last week on Turf Talk, Saturday mornings, 10 o'clock a.m. Bro, one, if I'm a college athlete, I am not playing football this year. You're not paying me. And thanks to Ron DeSantis, nobody's going to be getting paid until July of 2021. So that's incentive number one. Mm-hmm. Two, you want me to entertain America and catch touchdowns, but you won't allow me to date your daughter. Hell to the no. I'm not playing football this year. Three, I could get sick or I could get injured. And then if the season gets delayed or stopped, I just got hurt or injured for nothing. No. Four, we may not even have people on campus. Everybody is preparing to take campus courses online. So you basically want me to practice, suit up, take hits, not get paid, maybe get hurt, maybe get sick, while you won't stand for me when an officer is trying to arrest me for some bad traffic license ticket. Hell to the no. We're not going to have college football this year. And by the looks of it, if we don't get some clowns with some damn masks, we may not have NFL. I believe that the season is going to be delayed. We will have football. I'm not going to be Mr. Negative because I was getting on to you earlier tonight about you being negative. I will say this. If people don't watch their damn entitlements, we're probably going to have to wait for some NFL football. Speaking of entitlement, I wanted to go back to Washington.
Yes.
Not conspiracy theory, because I'm going to give you facts, because that's the only thing that the listeners actually do pay attention to. Because I can preach till I'm black in the face. Hey, I'm black in the face. Jeff Bezos, Amazon owner.
Yeah.
He happens to own the Washington Post. Would it be funny if he just went and bought the team outright?
No.
Or better yet, let's say Roger Goodell actually has a nerve and he wants some diversity inside of these 32 people that run the NFL, the owners. Dave Calhoun, Boeing. Now would be a perfect time. If you're going to kick Snyder and you want diversity and you want this powder keg of America to slow down, why the hell would you not allow Dave Calhoun of Boeing? Google him. I'm not going to tell you what he does. Why would you not allow him to purchase the team? It's not a question of money. He's got the money. I believe FedEx, Nike, Walmart, Dick's, Target, and Amazon would all endorse him. Not that he would need the help because he has Boeing. They make planes, by the way. Hint, hint. But yes, that'd be an excellent way to cure a lot of the ailments that the NFL has, unlike the NBA.
All right, let's go out to the webheads here. The same logic says Tom Brady is not a part of the Bucs culture. If Janoris Jenkins is not a part of the New Orleans culture, Gronkowski is not a part of the Buccaneer culture. I get what you're saying, Rick. You're playing the devil's advocate, but it's not like Tom Brady has come out and said, you know what? The Saints are not that good of a team because I haven't been here, so I'm going to be the difference. That's the difference. He's talked trash today. That's all I can say. Alex is now the only guy who can come in hot twice in one show. Rob says, I believe October 15th is the Plan B kickoff schedule. With everything that's been reported today, do you feel like there's more of an uncertainty that they're going to start the season in September, that they will push it back until October? And is that the best decision for the NFL to make, with the other leagues kind of trying to get started up like the NBA, Major League Baseball, and the NHL?
I don't want you to lose any fans, Peter, but I'm going to have a confession with you. You remember a couple of weeks ago when I had this rare thought about the season getting pushed back, or it's going to have to be a bi-weekly season because idiots won't wear face masks. B, there's no cure to the vaccine. And C, entitlement was an issue. If we played a bi-weekly system where every 2 weeks we play a football game, the NFL would make zillions of dollars. You wouldn't have to worry about the COVID injury because IR is for 3 weeks anyway. It's not 2. You can expand the roster. You can have your intentional bye weeks after every 4 weeks. So it's broken up in quarters.
Right.
If there was an injury, there are plenty of people on the injured reserve list. If there was an issue where somebody came down with COVID, you could quarantine the team for 2 weeks' time, and then you could play another game. It would last all the way from October all the way to May. I believe it was May, 17th to 20th, whenever I broke it down originally. And then you would have the playoffs. You would only have one bye week in the playoffs. Number 1 seed would get that. Number 2, getting screwed with no Vaseline. And then you would have your Super Bowl before August. And you could start it all over again. All of your players coming out of college, since there won't be a college football season, they'll be eligible for the combine and they can join the team, but they cannot play. They would not be eligible on the roster, but you could get familiar with the playbook. I think that would be excellent for the NFL if they actually took the precautions, treated their athletes like civilians and people, and actually thought about their well-being instead of trying to entertain America.
Well, they're trying to entertain America right now because they're going through a global pandemic. I understand what you're saying about treating them as human beings, but at the end of the day, these athletes also make lots of money, and for them to get it delayed, I think it certainly is possible, but it's hard. It's hard for Americans to see them as human beings because they do make so much money and they have all this ability, and I get it right now because people need to have positive reinforcement. They need something to take their mind off of what's going on with this pandemic. So I think you got to have football this year. I'm hoping you do, especially NFL. I don't think it happens with college. Going back to Bezos, I could definitely see it happening because he has enough money. And I kind of wonder what's going to come out tomorrow from the Washington Post because there's supposed to be more revealed about these allegations, but they're just so damning. I just
bro, if Snyder is on that Epstein report, that's strike number 1 amongst many. Mm-hmm. Number 2, bro, how in the hell is a coach going to be sleeping with the same chick that one of his players? All right, number 3, potential lawsuit. Alex Smith almost lost his leg. That was a gruesome injury, and that was brought about on spite because you didn't play bibs because he was sleeping with your own, well, not your old lady, your chick. You guys are sharing the chick.
They're surprised. There was a YouTube video that came out and showed Jay Gruden basically sitting around smoking a cigarette. I don't know if it's a cigarette. Maybe it's something else. Who knows? I mean, he could have been. And he was coming on to younger women. Look, you got it. You got it. You're married, though. So, you've got to take that seriously, but he's not taking it seriously.
Why do you think I chuckled whenever you said that at the beginning of the show? Why do you think I chuckled? Because I'm like, wait, this is a married guy and he's hitting on a reporter. He's hitting on a reporter in front of other reporters. Like, you can't be that dumb.
But he's hitting on women outside, too. I mean, they're showing this YouTube video. He's hitting on women, he's hitting on anybody at that point. He's sitting down on the damn ground, talking to somebody like he's trying to, schedule his next encounter, his next one-night stand. I don't know what to think, but I tell you right now, there's a reason why the Washington Redskins are so awful because it starts with the ownership and it goes on down. And all these guys that have been fired, once again, if Dan Snyder is the owner after this, there's a problem in the NFL. What do you guys think about this? 727-255-0391 to 727-255-0391. It's the evolution of Sports Talk Television. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Mr. Alex Fleming of Fantasy and Flavor. So, I mean, that's the big time story. It's been a bad day of news for people that want to see the football season start on time or without a positive test. What do you think comes out tomorrow? Do you think there's more positive tests? I mean, 72 positive tests. You can't actually feel like this is good news going forward. I mean, it's only going to get worse.
2,880 players and only 72 tested positive for COVID-19. That's 2.5% of the workforce. I'm actually happy about that. You know who didn't test positive for COVID-19? Devin White, who was shaking his tail feather not too long ago.
That we don't know about. That we don't know yet now, Alex. That was my point last night, and you were giving me trouble about it. You were, and you said it so cavalier. I'm just like, I want to come through the camera and choke you. I mean, honestly, you're my buddy. All these people have been locked away on quarantine. A guy put it so best off the air. He said, "Oh yeah, these people are stuck in their houses. You got Wi-Fi, You've got Netflix. You've got streaming services. Hell, you got Bucks Report in the sports web. I mean, I never get a night off here. So I'm always on. You got all this to look forward to, and you're complaining about it. Hello, you could get sick. Hello, it can ruin your lungs. Hello, if you keep it up, we won't have any sports at all to talk about. You will be doing the Netflixing and chilling, and you will also be watching that stupid show, which I have not seen yet, Tiger King. Who wants to watch that? I'd rather watch.
I don't watch that garbage. That hurts your brain cells. What I will say is that I'm an essential worker. So anytime I step foot outside of this house, I'm taking a chance with my life. For some odd reason, God, Allah, and Buddha like me because I'm still here talking to you on the sports web. So when I see clowns, Karens, and hypocrites not following social distancing, not wearing face masks, and blowing up like they're a Chucky doll because they don't get their way, it bothers me because I know that this issue started in March. I was supposed to be covering the Chicago Bulls versus the Orlando Magic. And then all of a sudden, the NBA shut down. And then from that moment on till now, we've got people who want a participation trophy in front of City Hall, armed to the teeth, spitting at cops, but then want to blame protesters who are fighting for their rights and liberties as American citizens. The hypocrisy is thicker than cheesecake. And then you got people who want to buy alcohol because that's the only thing they can do because they can't go out. And then the second that the beach is open, 4th of July, we get 12,000 more cases. We can't win for losing. Do we want a football season? Hey, Bucks Report, Bucks fans, let me ask you a question. Do you want a damn football season? Wash your damn hands, wear a damn mask, spread the word.
All right, 727-255-0391. We open up the phone lines here. Want to talk to you. What do you think about the 72 positive COVID tests today? What do you think about the new restrictions with having no training camp? There's going to be no fans at training camp. Is that the right situation for the NFL to approach this? Is not have any training camp and have the 2 fan events at the stadium? Why even have the 2 fan events at the stadium, Alex?
You have the fan events so that way you don't lose the trust and loyalty of your fan base. That's why you have the fan events at the stadium. Plus, if you're not going to have a training camp that people can actually view the training camp, fine. You're going to have to give the people something. You already took away season tickets. You already said you may not be able to come to the stadiums. Hell, if you're living in New York or Philadelphia, you can't even go to a damn game. Andrew Cuomo already broke that down. Baltimore limited, you've seen Baltimore Stadium. They've limited to 14,000 people. So yes, if you want to build trust and credibility with people who are buying jerseys, buying overinflated beers, buying drinks, and buying a whole bunch of memorabilia for a team that may or may not make it to the Super Bowl, you earn that trust by giving the people something to hold on to. It's hope.
Yeah.
Well, I hope people wash their damn hands. I hope people wear masks. And I hope we have these events so that way we can have football. Bro, I'm all for it. When this shutdown happened in the beginning of March and there was no sports, what did you, Blake Anthony, myself, Eric Wilson, Danny Thompson, Mark Moses, Chris Pirtle, and other people in our field do? We went to work because we knew damn well that people would go crazy if there was no sports talk, or no distraction. Well, guess what? We did our job, and it's 6 weeks before the NFL season starts, and you clowns are acting up.
Yeah. I agree. I agree with you, but it also not only falls on the fans, it falls on the players. And we've seen the behavior across the league. We've seen guys that test positive. We've seen Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott, who had some comments today, put some respect on my name because I have the numbers. I think it's a big year for him. He's got to prove himself after getting that big-time deal. Dak not getting his big-time deal, he could be eventually out of there, and that would be a mistake for the Cowboys. But
we didn't talk about that last night, and I'm wondering why. How the hell do you not pay Dak Prescott? Like, okay, let's stop and think about this. You signed Andy Dalton off the cheap because the Bengals let him go. It was a full 24 hours, and Jerry Jones snatched him like a thief in the night.
Yeah.
Number 2, Dak was asking for $35 million. Now, regardless if he's worth the money or not, regardless, that's the market. That's the market. You're not going to tell a quarterback to take less money than what the market projects. Number 3, you've had 17 months to get this done. You knew this issue was coming. You paid Zeke. You paid Jalen Smith. You paid your secondary player, and you let Jones go. Mm-hmm. You paid your defensive line, but you don't pay your quarterback. That got you the second most wins behind Tom Brady. That got you a victory in the playoffs over Russell Wilson and got you 8-8 without Ezekiel Elliott because he was suspended. The disrespect, bro, it's so real.
It's really disrespect, but I think what the Cowboys are looking at is, look, they got him under 1 year. Can he do it again? If he does, then they're going to have to pay him. If not, then they go a different direction. But I think it's a mistake. But then again, to be fair, Dak has not really led them to anywhere, and they've had weapons around them. They have a good offensive line. They have wide receivers that they can throw to. What is the major malfunction with the Dallas Cowboys? Why do they always collapse at the end of the year? What's the problem?
2 reasons.
Okay.
1, Jerry Jones. That's obvious.
Okay.
We don't need to discuss that. We already know that. That's 1. 2, bro, have you seen Carrot Top and his coaching decisions lately? I mean, he's in New York now, but let's be completely honest. How many playoff victories did Romo have? 1.
Right.
How many times did Romo go to the playoffs? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Right.
So you're telling me a guy went to the playoffs 4 times, has 1 victory, and then gets smoked by everybody. Yet we're going to pick on Dak Prescott, who's 1-2 in the playoffs, but he at least makes it to the playoffs. 2 of the 4 times he's been there. He's durable, hasn't missed a start, and actually broke numbers for a Dallas Cowboy quarterback last year with 4,902 yards passing and 30 touchdowns.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that just came off the top of my head. What the hell is wrong with Jerry Jones, and what does he have against Dak Prescott? Can we not pay a 4th-round pick? Is he not worth $32, $33 million? Or better yet, why could you not sign him to a 3-year, $105 million contract with $50 million guaranteed, just so you have balance, so that way you can get all the pieces around him? Because you're going to have to pay CeeDee Lamb. You paid Amari Cooper. Gallup's on the back burner because he's still on his rookie contract. I'm vexed.
I think it's the uncertainty of the cap next year. That's what it comes down to. It also comes down to what I've just talked about. You have all these weapons, and yet he's not doing better. And I get he had 30 touchdowns, but a lot of people make the mistake of equating a quarterback to wins and losses, and it's not always that. So if it's not Dak Prescott, and if it's not Ezekiel Elliott, you say it's coaching. So you feel like Mike McCarthy will make a big impact on the Cowboys this year.
When I spoke to Mr. McCarthy at the NFL Combine, the first question I asked him is, Dak Prescott your quarterback? And he gave me the rigmarole, so on and so forth. His play chart has increased since his days at Green Bay. And he said that he was going to evaluate every position and he was going to play some no-nonsense football. I asked him, how exactly are you going to beat Green Bay when Green Bay's been whooping Dallas's ass for the last 4 years? And he says, I look at every team, not just former teams or other teams in the NFC. He also informed me that there will be open competitions. Just because you've had this position before I got here under Jason Garrett does not mean you're going to be keeping your position just because you had it under Jason Garrett. He has arguably the best offensive line in football. You have the best wide receiver core. You don't have the best wide receivers. You have the best wide receiver core between Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, and that man from Richardson, Texas, CeeDee Lamb, who for some odd reason passed my eye test with a top 5 running back in Ezekiel Elliott. Oh, and Blake Jarwin. Don't sleep on Blake Jarwin. He was better than Jason Witten last year, but couldn't get the playing time because old man Witten was the defined starter. Look for him to break out and separate because Jarwin is nasty. The defense is the issue for the Dallas Cowboys now because that offense is going to be a problem. They will be serving Bird against the Eagles. Why are we even talking about the Giants. And with the hell that Washington's going through, I told you guys 2 months ago, beware a very angry Dak Prescott. Well, call me now for your free reading. Beware an angry Dak Prescott.
All right, let's go ahead and go out to the webheads here. Alex, who do you like to win the NBA championship? To me, it's the
Clippers. If we have it,
the Clippers.
Thank you.
It's the Clippers, and I'll tell you why. Because LeBron will choke again. They lose Avery Bradley, which is one of their defensive guys that can play on the perimeter. It's not going to be enough, and it's going to come down to Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard. Is it Kawhi?
Kawhi?
Why am I saying
Just call him Cyborg.
Yeah, Kawhi Leonard. It's going to come down to him. It's going to come down to the other guy. I forget his name. By the NBA.
Paul George.
Paul George. You got Paul George. I think you got.
Would you like some assistance in basketball, sir?
Well, I'll tell you right now, the NBA has been out of my mindset at this point. I'm looking for Orlando to do something, and all I hear is the rumors, and you can go ahead and talk about this a little bit because we're changing subjects. We've been talking Bucks all night long and NFL. But let's change the basketball a little bit. You hear the rumor that Aaron Gordon is going to be recruited by the team that everybody usually wants to go to, although they've been on the downside with their injuries lately with Stephon Curry and, of course, Klay Thompson. That would be the Golden State Warriors. Do you think Aaron Gordon goes to the Golden State Warriors, to the Magic, let another possible future superstar get out of there like a Victor Oladipo?
Well, I'm not TJ Pinninger, but this is definitely a matter that I know about because I do cover the Orlando Magic, so hopefully people are listening. The Golden State Warriors were interested in Aaron Gordon last year. They reached out this February, and Orlando turned them down. Aaron Gordon is a free agent, and the problem that Orlando has – go ahead.
I got to take this call because this is funny, and she's not going to know it, but she's going to know it now. Hi, welcome to the Sports Web here. You're on with Peter Blake along with Mr. Alex Fleming. What's on your mind? Yeah, no. You called, and this would be my mother here. Everybody doesn't know who she is. This would be Sandra Nagel, my agent. You think they're going to have an NFL season tonight or this year, Mom, or what?
I sure do.
Yeah?
Absolutely do.
You have confidence this year? What are you expecting out of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Are you excited with Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski coming to town?
Absolutely. I think we're going to have a Super Bowl this year.
Super Bowl this year. See, she's positive. I'm not. I'm the one that's been negative. Alex has been telling me all night long. Alex, say hello to my mother.
How you doing? Nice to work with your son. He needs a little bit more positivity, but other than that, he's great.
Yeah, he needs a lot of positivity.
Yeah. All right. So anything else, Sandra?
No, I just think that the Super Bowl, there definitely would be have a Super Bowl this year.
Do you think they're going to push back the season, or are they going to start it on time in September?
I think they're going to be right on time.
Okay. All right. She thinks it's going to be right on time. Anything else?
We're going to have the vaccine out there, and there's a lot of positive stuff going on. Look, we got over the 100 years ago, so we're going to make it this year.
Okay. All right. There you go. That's a positive.
Didn't happen years and years ago, but
so let me go back to the Bucks.
Now.
Let me go back to the Bucks here, Mom. The Bucks are going to win the Super Bowl this year.
I definitely think they're going to be there.
Well, you didn't say they were going to win it. Are they going to win the Super Bowl this year?
That's fair.
Hey,
that's fair though.
Super Bowl champions before. I said the Kansas City Chiefs was going to take that game before they even started football.
That's true. She did. We went back and forth on this, and she said, "You're wrong. I'm telling you, you should take Patrick Mahomes, who, by the way, just got a $503 million contract just the other day." Goodness, I like to be like Mahomes. Good stuff, Mom. Thanks a lot for calling the Sports Web. All right.
No problem.
All right, good stuff. All right, good stuff. There you go. That's what happens, guys. Anybody that calls my personal phone line, it has now been transformed to the Sports Web phone line. I knew who it was when she called, so I had to take the call there. She likes you, Alex. She says Super Bowl or bust. She talked about Patrick Mahomes last year winning the Super Bowl. I mean, could it be?
It's the exact same thing, and you scoffed at me.
I did. I definitely did. I still think San Francisco, if they would have went with their game plan during that game with running the ball instead of trying to do something they couldn't, which is pass the ball and play good defense, they would have won that game. They were up by 10 points, Alex. Come on. Wasn't off that badly. All right, let's go out to Rob Morgan. He's become one of my jawed up. And Dallas should have dealt Zeke while he was in Cabo, gotten first-round pick in return, had the cap space to give Dak his deal, and kept Byron Jones. You draft a rookie and sign a free agent running back at better value behind a monster line. I'm going to tell you right now, Rob is killing it with all the comments the last 2 nights. Hopefully you tune into the Sports Web tomorrow. I think he's exactly right, and I'll tell you why. I think Zeke is a quality I think he's a great running back. I think he's starting to run down a little bit. And then on top of it, with him getting his big-time money and the off-the-field decisions, I wouldn't mind trading a Zeke away and going and putting another running back behind that line. I really wouldn't. I think he's got a point. And then you get to pay Dak.
I wanted to touch on that while you were talking with TJ. Running backs aren't recycled plastic. I can give you quite a few running backs that were transcendent, that the team needed that running back.
Okay.
And I don't have to go back in the day and say Walter Payton or Jim Brown or John Riggins or Barry Sanders or Terrell Davis or LaDainian Tomlinson. I think you're getting my point. I think there's a running back by the name of Adrian Peterson who is just a freak, who is still running in Washington and doing his thing, and has ambitions of being a 1,000-yard rusher. Okay? Imagine Pittsburgh without James Conner, because last year when Big Ben went down, it was running back by committee because Conner got injured early. Le'Veon Bell went to the Jets, and he doesn't have a 20-yard rush in him for almost 2 years. Or better yet, Alvin Kamara. He's the joker in that New Orleans system. Do you know why Alvin Kamara is going to get a contract from the New Orleans Saints? Because you can line him up in an I, or you can put him in the X, or you put him in the slot. Him in the backfield automatically gives Drew Brees at least one additional second, which leads to less sacks. If you put him in the slot position, then you automatically have a mismatch because he's too fast for the linebacker. If you put a corner or a safety on Alvin Kamara while he's lined up in the slot, you now have a weaker secondary, and you already can't guard Mike, and you just added Emmanuel Sanders, okay? And don't forget about Traquan. He'll burn you too. That's an excellent joker back, and that's why he's implemented inside of that system. That's why he's going to get paid, and that's why running backs' lives matter.
Running backs' lives matter. What is the running back class looking like next year? Because we've heard about the free agent stacked. What are the free agents on those the running backs next year? Who are they?
Kareem Hunt, Leonard Fournette, opt-out clause with Le'Veon Bell. Gurley could be free if he doesn't want to stay with Atlanta, but that's neither here nor there. I'm not looking for Gurley. Let's see. Freeman, Denver. Devontae Freeman's been free. I don't want Devontae Freeman. We don't need Devontae Freeman. By the way, for those seeking Devontae Freeman, he was barely, and I mean barely, a 1,000-yard back last year. Overall, that's rushing and receiving. 638 yards rushing, 370 yards receiving. And I do mean barely a 1,000-yard back. We do not need Devontae Freeman.
Well,
We're better.
Now, watching that game the other night, Devontae Freeman had some good carries, but I'd like Ronald Jones a lot, and I keep on saying it. Victim of volume. There's something special about that kid when he gets the rock and he's able to be patient and really pick his hole and really pick and choose, and then gets out to that second or third level. He can really make some things happen. I like him a lot. I think he's going to be something here in Tampa.
Do you remember my hammer and sickle, thing with Tennessee when it came to Derrick Henry running and then throwing when the coverage goes down?
Right.
Look, thunder and lightning. Ronald Jones is bigger than Keyshawn Vaughn, and he should be a victim of volume. But Peyton Barber had, I believe, about 60 carries last year. Vaughn doesn't need a lot of carries to be very productive. He salivates, quote unquote, when he sees a 5-2 front. And they're going to need to have a 5-2 front to stop the running game. If we have a running game, which leads to the play action, which leads to the entire playbook of Brian Leftwich, we are going to be an unstoppable force and an immovable object. We got 2 of the top 10 wide receivers in Godwin and Evans. We do have a relic in tight end, but we have a young tight end, and we have an offensive tight end, and we have a sleeper in Tanner Hudson. All we need is a potent running game and probably 2 more tackles, and we're taking the NFC by storm. Bro, San Francisco is not going to be the same. They won't have Raheem Mostert, and they can't replace Emmanuel Sanders. You got Deebo Samuel as your number 1 wide receiver now. That's an issue.
He's hurt.
He was a rookie last year. You can't have him be number 1 right now. Even Michael Thomas had time to grow, even though he wasn't number 1 his second year. But that's neither here nor there.
Alex,
that's neither here nor there.
Alex, he's out with an injury. Deebo Samuel.
That too. Richard Sherman's not any younger. All right. And we saw how he got burnt in the Super Bowl. Now, Sherman's still a good corner. All right. I'm not going to bash, Sherman, but when it mattered the most, he got burnt. And look at the NFC West, bro. Seattle's not going anywhere. You got arguably one of the best quarterbacks in Russell Wilson. The Rams can still score points. I mean, they ain't scaring nobody, but they can still score points. And then you got Arizona, who only got better all around, offensively, defensively, linebacker with Isaiah Simmons, secondary, offensive line. Oh, and by the way, Nook. All right, so let's just be completely honest. Nothing is given to the Super Bowl loser. There's this thing called a hangover on purpose.
Definitely. There's going to be some type of Super Bowl hangover, you feel like, with the 49ers losing to DeForest Buckner. They got my guy, Javon Kinlaw, in there. That's why I won wings. But you know what? They probably should have drafted a wide receiver if they were going to lose Sanders, and now losing Deebo Samuel early on.
They did draft a wide receiver, Brandon Ayuk.
Oh, that's right.
He was their second number 1 wide receiver.
But I tell you right now, and you've seen the stats on this, number 1 wide receivers have more of a bust rate than any other position that's drafted out there. Usually. It's always
it's funny because I can give you 3 top wide receivers that was drafted in the top 10 that weren't bust, but I could give you so many more that were. You want a good quality wide receiver? 2nd and 3rd round.
Right.
They're all over the place.
Yes. They're
2nd
all
and 3rd round.
You got to develop them. Chris Godwin is a perfect example of that. A 3rd round pick most likely should have been a 1st or 2nd round, but because his speed didn't necessarily match up or he didn't do enough in the combine, that's why he dropped. So good.
That's a good problem for Tampa to have.
Right.
Imagine having 2 number 1s instead of just 1 number 1.
Sure.
You're pushing Mike Evans. And you got the dynamic duo. You got 2 wide receivers that amassed 2,490 yards and 17 touchdowns before they went down at the last quarter of the season. You got problems.
Yeah.
And no other team in the NFL has the best wide receiver duo that we have.
I agree. All right, let's go out to some of the comments. Sitton says, love it. Wow. Sitton says, right. Let's go. Buck says, Yaj, bring your passion. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people tonight, just definitely participating, a lot of passion. Been talking about Devin White, Ryan Jensen, and all the COVID cases. And now you hear Kansas City, the Chiefs, according to Tom Pelissero, are telling players to go. Huh?
Hunt statue. I do believe that they are planning on removing Hunt's statue.
Why?
Bro, I don't know. This one boggles me. I guess there's so much moistness in the Washington community. They figure if they're going to take away the Washington whatever's name, then you should probably attack the Chiefs, the Blackhawks, the Seminoles, and the Cowboys. And I'm like, bro, I'm telling you, I've been to a rainforest before, and I haven't seen this much moisture before in my life.
My friend says moist all the time, too. That'll be Sean the Sports Star, my former co-host here. He said that.
Bro, Washington fans are moist.
Well, they're about to get more moist, if you will, because with all the allegations coming out. I mean, is this the biggest story the NFL? Is this the biggest black eye the NFL has ever had? I mean, and you talk about some issues here. Ray Rice beating his wife, only getting 2 games, and then TMZ coming out with him dragging his wife out of the elevator. You had the whole Kareem Hunt kicking the girl. I mean, Greg Hardy beating.
Let me be completely honest. The Kareem Hunt thing really wasn't that bad. I mean, it really wasn't that. It compared to other things, the Kareem Hunt thing wasn't that bad.
he kicked somebody when they're on the ground, man. It was not a good look. It's a terrible look by Kareem Hunt. It really is. I didn't like it at all.
I never said it looked good, but I mean, compared to all the other things, it didn't look bad. I mean, you forgot about Myles Garrett hitting Mason Rudolph and all logistics behind that. Ray Caruth back in the day. Ben Roethlisberger being an alcoholic and a porn addict.
Don Stallworth running over. Did he run over somebody, kill them, and still got
Stallworth killing somebody? Robert Kraft and his Orchids of Asia. Oh, me so horny. Okay, so let's be completely honest. Compared to all the nonsense in the NFL and Washington paying off referees, and they still sucked. Kareem Hunt was just the microcosm of everything that's been going on. Bro, Washington has won the offseason.
In your opinion, is this the worst black eye that the NFL could have with the Washington situation?
The history of the Washington whatevers was built on the foundation of a devout racist in George Preston Marshall. The Washington whatevers was the last NFL team to integrate. He was supposed to get Ernie Davis from Syracuse, and he declined and picked up Brian Mitchell. He had Nazis campaign around RFK because he did not want to integrate. Jack Kent Cooke, once he took over the team, had to tell McDonald's to quit the stereotyping because you had white people in Indian and Native American headdresses and paint. Hey, yeah. And they're making people think that this is okay. And it's not okay. And don't get me started on the fans, bro.
Alex,
these entitled, self-centered fans.
You had Bounty Gate. Is this worse than Bounty Gate? Is this
worse than Bounty Gate? Worse than Bounty. Let me tell you something. College and pro, there's always money on the line to take out the quarterback. That's nothing new. That's absolutely positively nothing new. The problem, people found out. Okay?
Right.
Washington is worse than Bounty Gate. Washington is worse than Deflate Gate. Washington is worse than Spygate. All right? Washington is worse than the Green Bay Packer who took out Jim McMahon. All right? Washington in a microcosm has been 20 plus years of futility and ignorance, and it needs to be fixed.
But this situation in itself is just the icing on the cake. It's just bad. I see Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy watching right now, and I see Steve Barrett watching. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Tampa Bay Ray, you were supposed to be on tonight. Open phone line if you want to call in. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. So in your opinion, let me just nail this down. This is the worst black eye because not only does it involve the owner, but it involves coaches, player personnel guys, a radio guy. A radio guy is sexually harassing staff that works for the Redskins. Like, this is the worst that could happen. And then all these allegations, more and more, are going to come out in the next couple of days. I just feel like the Redskins, before the year starts, are done.
Pete, take a walk with me. You have an owner of an NFL franchise who should be held to a higher standard.
Agree.
Doing drugs, taking drugs, and sleeping with ladies under the age of 18. Add to that, he's picking up women with his head coach who might be under the influence of something as well. You got an owner and a coach holding foreign visas from the cheerleading squad so that way they can get new top picks and solicit them to top season ticket holders. You have people in the front staff, Schaefer, Mann, Santos, sexually harassing women like it's going out of style. And then you have a base where you have ignorance, systemic racism, overpriced tickets, a bad football product. You had a bingo caller as an offensive coordinator, bro. Like, for real. Washington needs to be cleansed.
All right, let's go out to the phone lines. Welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. You're on the Sports Web with yours truly, along with Mr. Alex Fleming.
Hey, guys. How you doing tonight?
What's going on, buddy? How you doing? Chris, right?
Chris, come on. You should know my voice by now.
Oh, man, I know who you are. Joshua Cole Allen. I'm just joking. Go for it.
No, just want to jump in on this Washington topic.
Joshua, is this the worst thing for the NFL that the NFL has ever encountered? Because they've had some stuff. They've had some black guys. the domestic abuse, Bounty Gate, Spygate, but this has to be the worst, right?
I think even if you took out everything else that's been going on with this Washington news, the fact that there have been reports that they've been paying off referees is one of the worst things that's come out. I mean, not to take away from sexual harassment or anything like that, but from an NFL perspective, the fact that you have teams paying referees, and it said that they're not the only team that has done it.
Wow.
That is a huge eyesore for the NFL. I think this is the worst thing that could happen. It's just a matter of time before, Goodell supposedly, had a long talk with Snyder about the name change. Well, he's going to have another long talk because Snyder's not going to be the owner of this team for much longer.
Yeah, I mean, I can't see him being the owner, or I could see him being put on a suspension for a year, but I feel like Goodell and the NFL, they have to do something because this is bad.
I mean, if you look what happened with Jerry Richardson down in Carolina, and then if you take it over to NBA with the Clippers and what happened there.
Donald Sterling,
Donald Sterling, this is right up there with that.
Worse.
He's gonna exactly. He's gonna be pushed out of this league. It's not a matter of it's a matter of when at this point. So my question is, he's been saying that he's changing the team logo and the team name and all this stuff. The question is, he's going to have to sell it. He's trying to get this done as soon as possible. Obviously, do you see the NFL having a preliminary or temporary logo and name for this team, and then the new owner being able to come in and change it to kind of get rid of all traces of Donald's?
No. Multiple reasons, no. One, whenever a team goes through transition, they usually keep the second logo that comes afterwards. Arizona Cardinals have only changed their logo twice. They've been in 3 NFL cities. Houston Oilers switched over to the Tennessee Titans. How many teams have switched over or changed names? Chargers kept their logo. They've been in 3 cities. Oakland, Vegas, LA. You get my point. No. The name change is only going to be the nickname for the logo. And Red Tails and Red Wolves are leading in that because some other guy bought all the other damn trademarks. So no, the name change will be the name of the team.
But the guy that bought all the guy that bought all the trademarks, he did it on purpose, but he doesn't have any objection if they want to take some of those names. So I don't know why.
You think that will
the Red Tails is historic, so he couldn't trademark that. You can't trademark history. By the way, for those who don't know, Red Tails is the story of the Tuskegee Airmen from World War II. They were seen inferior from other pilots and servicemen, yet they were beneficial in World War II and did not lose a man. They painted the tails of the airplanes red because they felt that they were outcasts.
Beautiful. Good stuff. Joshua, what else?
Now, do we think that would be the last thing that kind of Snyder does if he is forced out of the league, is changing this team and logo? I mean, that will be attached to him, and that's something that he'll have his name attached to for, as long as this franchise is around.
I don't think that name change takes place until there's a new owner that signs off on it. I don't think Daniel Snyder is a part of this name change. Daniel Snyder is going to be forced out by other owners and also Goodell, and he needs to be, because the PR nightmare that the NFL is about to face and the Redskins are about to face is going to be just absolutely horrific.
But we're talking about a lot of red tape and X's and O's that need to be crossed before this team can just get sold like that. Not to mention, we're up against the clock now here. They're going to have to get through the sale, change the name and logo. If Snyder comes out, next week and says this is what it's going to be, well, I'm still the owner.
Yeah.
Does he have to get permission from all 31 owners on a name change and a logo change, or is that something that he can just do being the owner of the team?
I think they can just do it because he's the owner of it. But there's not anybody that's going to stand against him on a name change at this juncture. There's no way. Not with the social climate, not with all the controversy and all the sponsors pulling out. There's no way that a name change doesn't happen, and it should have happened. It should have happened a long time ago.
Happen. I'm just saying, does he have the authority to change to make that? Say he wants to go with the Red Tails, comes up with the logo and the name, and puts it out there, this is what I'm doing, does that need to be run through the NFL?
Well, I think it has to be ran through the NFL, but I don't think there has to be any owner's approval on it, if that's what you're asking. So
yes, that's what I was
He
asking.
doesn't need the other owner's approval in order to change the name. Him being the owner and getting the pass with Goodell, since he's in hot water with Goodell, that's all he would need. He wouldn't need other permission from 31 other owners.
No.
That's what I'm saying. So if he does make this name change and logo, because I mean, we all agree here that he's probably going to get pushed out of the league, and he's going to have to sell the team, right?
Yeah, I think he's going to have to sell the team, or he's going to be forced out, and somebody else is going to take over, the minority owner, like Alex said, Jeff Bezos will be working behind the scenes.
So that will be the last act that Dan Snyder does, and that name and new logo will always be connected to Dan Snyder, even though he doesn't. You don't see them trying to, maybe a new owner trying to come in and change it after run with it for a year.
No.
And then change. No. Whatever Dan Snyder
No.
go with, that's what they're going to go
Yeah,
with.
I think they're going to go with that. I don't know if Dan Snyder is going to even decide. I think somebody else will be in the background, maybe a minority owner, or maybe they've already talked with Jeff Bezos about owning the team. Good stuff. We got to wrap it up here, Joshua. Great stuff tonight on Thursday Night Live, and thanks a lot for coming on the Sports Web, all right?
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. Don't forget to tune in at 8 tomorrow for the Audible.
All right, there you go. 8 o'clock tomorrow, the Audible with Joshua Cole Allen, one of our newest writers.
I do want to mention, I just want to say, Pete, I do want to mention, yes, Roger Goodell does have the power to strip ownership from an owner. If you do something against the Shield and is detrimental to the beneficial factors of the Shield, and you are an owner behaving badly, drugs, alcohol, visas, cheerleaders, Epstein report, I do believe by definition that's behaving badly. You can be stripped of ownership. This is common sense. NFL is not NBA, but Goodell does have absolute power in that retrospect.
All right, read this comment. Whether Doug Williams is involved, we shall see. Hopefully not. And then you just answered Rob Morgan. Good stuff, Rob. Go ahead and wrap it up, my friend. Promote yourself, and a Turf Talk on Saturday at 10 o'clock on Bucks Report, 10 a.m. And then, of course, Fantasy and Flavors. Let's go ahead and wrap this up because we got to go. We got to get off and get commercials paid for us. So go for it.
I'll go in order. Florida Sun Review, Central Florida's oldest black living newspaper. We're alive and well. We're not going anywhere. Turf Talk, Saturday mornings, 10 a.m. Hey, tune in. Sports, politics. I'm starting to figure this thing out. And as you can see, I'm not the sharpest cookie, but I'm smarter than the average bear. SportsMed Analytics, Dr. Deepak Chona. That deciphering suicide slice that I gave Rob Gronkowski, I owe that to the good doctor. You know, argue with the doctor. Don't argue with me. Take that how you want to. The Sports Arena. If you were listening to me on Monday, I was dropping some dimes and some knowledge about the NBA. It's a shame we didn't have more time to talk about that. And I was telling you about that moistness in Washington. Ooh, it's going to be so wet and juicy tomorrow. And last but not least, Truth Serum Football. Fantasy football advice so good it'll feel like you stole it. Get some of your memorabilia from there. As you can see, I'm a busy man, but I'll be around.
All right, rent a friend. There you go. Alex Fleming, the flamethrower himself of Fantasy and Flavors. Turf Talk on Saturday mornings at 10 o'clock live here on Bucks Report. Thanks a lot for your time tonight, all right?
Peace.
There you go, buddy. So we'll get out of here. Thanks to all our guests tonight. Thanks to Mr. Alex Fleming, of course, TJ Pittenger of the Big Three Roll Up Landry Football Network. Just thanks a lot for tuning in to the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. Join the 65,000 following we have here on Facebook, of course, live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And check out the Chris Landry Football channel on Twitch. Definitely do that. And do 3 things for me on this early Friday morning. It's almost Friday morning. Bring your passion. Bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. I'm your host, Peter Blake. See you tomorrow night on the Sports Web, the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. Have a great night. You're now in the Sports Web, a sports talk show for the hardcore fan. Bring your passion, bring your excitement, just don't bring any nonsense.